Welcome into another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here, previewing and predicting the 10 biggest games in Week 4 of the college football season. Dalton, we originally planned on doing 9 games. We announced 9 games on the review show. Then we looked at the schedule like, we got to do 10 games. We got to add another game to this mix, too. It's a loaded slate this week.
Absolutely. If we get a week anything like we got last week out of college football, it's going to be incredible. And I'll tell you, maybe I'm saying it every week, and that's why it's hard to pick these college games, but there's a lot of even games here, and I think there's a lot of really fun storylines. Obviously, down the line, it'll matter for playoff implications. You got teams getting into conference play, some of them for the first time this week, so it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good even games here and a lot of interesting matchups.
I felt really bad because I messaged you, 1 a.m. a couple nights ago, and I was like, I know he's previewing and reviewing NFL games right now. I know he's trying to move out of his apartment right now. I know we're going to Dallas this week too. And I messaged you, I was like, can we add SMU-TCU? Would you be okay with that? I was like, he's probably not going to be very bad.
I'm sitting around whenever it was watching like Mac Jones tape against the Saints, and you're just like, hey, what about one more? And I was like, you know what, Max, just for you, you know what, we'll do a 10th one. So you added SMU-TCU, which is a really darn good football game. Although last year SMU dominated that one. We'll get to it, but no, I mean, it's just what's one more? I cover somewhere near 50 games a week. What's one more added to? It doesn't matter. It doesn't take me too long.
You did 49 this week, right? So we could have done.
Yeah, I think it was 50 last week, and I think this week was 49.
We should have done 11 then to get you to 50.
I got I'm moving to a new apartment this week too. If I wasn't,
you're leaving me. You're leaving my building, man.
I know.
Very sad.
I'm going over with our guy in the betting show, Mason.
I know.
He's in there. I'm telling you. See.
Cheat on me.
Never alone though. It is what it is. Max,
I was so nervous when I messaged you though. You know how whenever you threw up as a kid and you go to your parents' room in the morning, at 3:00 in the morning, and tell them you throw up, how nervous you are telling them, waking them up like that. That's how I felt messaging you, be like, hey, can we add SMU-TCU? I think it's a pretty fun game. We should probably preview that. That's how I felt.
Where were you throwing up? You didn't just flush it and go back to bed?
No, I was pretty bad as a kid.
You just wherever you were standing, just unleash it. Nobody taught you to just go to the bathroom and.
No. Unfortunately, no.
All right.
Yeah. But I was nervous. I was very nervous messaging you at 1:30 in the morning as I was previewing these games.
You knew I was up sitting around watching some sort of tape.
And you're like, I think you messaged back. You're like, I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, we're here now. We have 10 for you, and it's a 10th grade football game that we're covering.
I love it. All right, our records on the year. I'm 16-16. Not a great start for your boy through our first few weeks of the season. Dalton, you are 19-13.
I'll take that.
Nice 3-game cushion you have.
We got a better week this week. I'll tell you what. Not that it matters here. I had a good NFL. I went 15-1 on NFL picks this week.
Wow.
15.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Only game I got wrong, I took the Steelers over the Seahawks.
I think I went 4-7 in college this week for us.
Yeah. Yep.
It was bad.
Yep. It was a lot of 50-50 games right now. We're still getting an early read on a lot of these teams.
I tweeted out after my Heisman picks. I said, man, I might suck at this, and I might suck at all of it right now.
Oh, well, you cursed Joey Aguilar.
I did. I cursed a lot.
And then the night just went downhill from there.
I cursed my Heisman picks. I cursed everything. Want to remind you guys, though, PFF Plus, 25% off with the code PFFCFB25. Please use that promo code. Nothing else. No other promo codes. Not Dalton's NFL Show promo code. Use the PFFCFB25 promo code because we are in a competition with all the other shows here at PFF. Whoever has the most uses of their promo code will win the competition at the end of the year. We're trying to get it and do it, so we can feed our family, please.
I play both sides, so I always win. That's how.
Well, you're losing right now. The fantasy pod is running away.
Nate's doing an unbelievable job promoting on that side. We got
Nate Yonke and John Macker.
We got to figure something. We got to hand out pamphlets door to door or something.
we should just.
There you go. I just leave a note for that, but on everyone in our apartment building, just leave a note. Hey, promo code for this. They don't even know what it is. Just out of context. And then I move out. They can't even find me. I'll just go to your apartment. Yeah.
There you go. All right, we'll do that. We'll start handing out pamphlets too. But please, if you're going to use a promo code, get 25% off the best subscription in sports right now. The same data that every single NFL team, every single college football team uses for 25% off with the promo code PFFCFB25 at PFF.com. It's probably the link is in the description below if you want to click on it too. All right, Dalton, let's get into the first game of our 10 games here in Week 4. Massive Big 12 game at noon. Number 17 Texas Tech at number 16 Utah. 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. It was a 10 a.m. kickoff in Utah.
Which is a wild decision. I know TV rights are what they are, but man, for a game,
big noon, baby.
For a game in Utah to be played at noon Eastern, crazy stuff.
That's
honestly.
Crazy. It is crazy. But the two Big 12 favorites are squaring off right now because if you look at DraftKings Sportsbook, our partner here at PFF, The Red Raiders are plus 350 to win the conference right now. They're the favorite to win the Big 12. Next up, Utah, plus 380 to win the Big 12 conference. The next closest team in the Big 12 is TCU at plus 650. So these are clearly right now the two favorites to win the Big 12 according to DraftKings Sportsbook. We also, here at the PFF College Football Show, agree with those odds as well because, Dalton, you had Utah beating Arizona State in your Big 12 title game. I had Texas Tech beating Utah. So my preseason Big 12 pick, your preseason Big 12 pick facing off in maybe what is the biggest game of the Big 12 regular season.
And the fact that we get it for both of their first Big 12 games is just fantastic stuff, honestly. It could be the game of the year in the Big 12 that we're getting right off rip. Utah, I think they're back after obviously they struggled last season. Love their offense with Jason Beck calling the plays and Devin Dampier at quarterback. And then Texas Tech. We all know the boatload of talent they brought in the transfer portal. They're an extremely talented team, but now you have to go out there and execute. The cupcakes are done. You're in your conference schedule, and you couldn't have a bigger first test than this one.
Absolutely. So we actually switched. Your pick was Utah to win, but you have the Texas Tech offense. I have the Utah offense in this one. Tell me more about Behren Morton against this Utah defense.
I think in general, more than anything about scheme, and Utah's got a very aggressive defense. I'll get to that in a moment, but I think this is just, it's go time for Behren Morton, right? Like we just mentioned, the cupcakes are over, and he's got an 86 passing grade this year, and he's been really good, but the three opponents have been Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State, and we've seen in the past that Behren Morton, he can play at a really high level with PFF passing grades up in the upper 80s or even 90, and he can play at a really low level, under 50 with the passing grade and a lot of turnover-worthy plays. I think that's the big thing you see with Behren Morton, and I don't often go to this because I don't always believe that it's the end-all, be-all, but Behren Morton, he's got to go on the road against an aggressive defense, and I think possibly with as physical as Utah's defense is, possibly carry him to a win in the run game. We'll see if it suffers now with Quentin Joyner suffering a season-ending injury, but Behren Morton's got to go out there and play big boy football now. Yeah. And the splits, I don't usually go home and road splits, but in his career, at home, he's got an 80 passing grade. In road games, it's a 59, okay? Another thing, Utah, very aggressive defense. They blitz a lot of man coverage. In his career, Behren Morton in a clean pocket is really, really good, 86.3 passing grade. Behren Morton under pressure, 35.5. It caves in. There's poor decision-making under pressure. He's a decent athlete, but not a great athlete. I think when you start to look at who the pressure is on, I should say, the most in this game, I think it's Behren Morton, and he's got to be safe with the football. He hasn't always been safe with the football in big spots, and he's got to be able to adjust when everything starts to speed up on him, right? And look, Utah, Kyle Whittingham's going to blitz him. They're going to challenge him. They are going to do what they do. And if Utah starts to shorten this game with their run game that you're going to get into a little bit, I think you have a moment where you might only have so many possessions, right? Because of this matchup that you're about to talk about. But if Utah does win that matchup and they control time of possession, possessions are going to be so valuable in this game. The big thing I'm looking for is Morton under pressure in a hostile road environment where it's very tough to win. Can he get it done and not make mistakes under pressure? And when he is clean, then take those shots downfield against that man coverage.
Absolutely. And my match to watch on the other side of the ball is Utah against Texas Tech. And that offensive line against Texas Tech's defensive line is one of the best matchups that we have all season. One of the best trench battles that we're going to see the entire year in college football. Utah entered this year with my number 2 offensive line in college football. Their 2 tackles, Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu, 2 of the 15 best prospects in the 2026 NFL draft, according to our big board. They lived up to the hype so far. They're the second lowest pressure rate allowed in the country at below 8%, and 4 of Utah's 5 starters on that offensive line have 80-plus pass blocking grades this season. Texas Tech, meanwhile, enters the year with my number 3 defensive line in the country, thanks to a few transfers coming along in there. And right now, Texas Tech has the highest graded defensive line in college football with a 92.7 grade as a unit. They have the highest run defense grade as a team with a 96.1 grade, and they're third with a 90.1 pass rush grade. If you look at Texas Tech's defensive line and how they're grading out right now, Skylar Gill-Howard, the D-tackle, highest graded D-tackle in the country. Romello Height, the edge rusher, 4th highest graded edge rusher in the country. Jaden Cofield, another D-tackle, 10th highest graded D tackle in the country. David Bailey, another edge rusher, 14th highest graded edge rusher in the country. Lee Hunter, D tackle, 16th highest graded D tackle in the country. Dalton, they have 4 players on their defensive line that are in the top 20 of grading for their position in the entire country. This Texas Tech D-line has been incredible so far, but they are going against their toughest test of the season and a Utah offensive line that has an argument to be the best in college football.
Yeah, and I think the run defense factor in it, and you've got Cofield and Gil Howard and Lee Hunter who have been great. And I want to throw out one other guy that's not a defensive lineman, but he's a spectacular run defender, and that's linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. 94.9 run defense grade. I believe that's tops in the country right now. That's going to be the key, is on early downs, can they get Devin Dampier and Wayshawn Parker in this run game? Can they make him uncomfortable? Can they make Dampier beat them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 situations? And then I think when it comes to Devin Dampier, against this defensive line, he's one of these guys, look, it's great to get pressure, but with as good an athlete as he is, you have to still contain him within the pocket, and you can't let him break outside the hash marks and all of a sudden start making plays with his legs. I think it's one of those games where, look, we believe that pressure, not that pressure necessarily matters more than sacks, but it's going to correlate to sacks. In this game against this quarterback, you have to turn a good amount of those pressures into sacks. If he escapes outside the pocket, that's when Dampier really starts to break the game open.
Absolutely. So Dalton, ultimately, in a matchup between our 2 picks to win the Big 12 this year, are you riding with your champion, or are you going with Texas Tech to win on the road?
Just what a fantastic football game, because you mentioned the elite offensive line, the highest graded D-line in the country, and we expected it to be an elite D-line with all those names you just mentioned, right? And even the great linebackers behind those guys. I'm really, this is as 50-50 as it gets, but I think the 2 big factors, 1, Utah's at home, and it's very, very hard to beat them at home, and 2, I need to see it from Baron Morton in a spot like this. I need to see it. I actually believe in Dampier in a spot like this. You know, he's won. I know it's, you know, he was at New Mexico last year, but he has showed up when it's mattered, right? For New Mexico last year, even though they had no defense and high-scoring games. Remember the big upset over Washington State? You know, this year, when you talk about, obviously, the UCLA game is one thing in his first start, but they're playing really good football, especially up front. I'm taking Utah 31-28. I think the defense does just enough, even though it's a really talented Texas Tech offensive unit. I think Dampier is going to make some plays outside the pocket, even outside of this defensive line, that are gonna make a big difference in this game. His ability to make plays out on the move is just unbelievable. He's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country. I'm going to ride with my champion. I think there is a very real possibility we could see these teams again.
Yep.
I still have, even though he's played well through 3 games against not very good opponents, I still have my lingering questions about Baron Morton. I need to see it first before I pick him to win a game like this.
I'm going with my champion to win. I'm riding with my champion. Texas Tech 28, Utah 27. This game should go down to the wire. And I'm telling you right now, watch when Utah has the football, watch the trenches, man. That offensive line against Texas Tech's defensive line, that might be the best trench matchup we get in college football the entire season, honestly. It's going to be a war in the trenches. But I like Texas Tech's D-line a lot. And also, I think Utah struggled a little bit with Wyoming last week, right? Texas Tech has looked dominant through 3 weeks.
They didn't. Utah's got to finish drives. That was the big thing against UCLA a couple weeks ago. They finished drives. In that game in Wyoming, they didn't finish drives. They were kicking field goals. And I think to Texas Tech's advantage here is that if they can hold Utah to field goals, that's really going to be a big thing in this game is red zone offense and defense. Utah, they move the ball well, but they didn't finish drives. They need to finish drives against this defense. And I will say, for Utah, they want to run the ball. They want to be front runners in this game. If this game gets late, last 10 minutes, and Utah are the team that's behind, well, you don't want to see that D-line in obvious passing situations when Utah, even with Dampier, and I love Devin Dampier, but they're not a drop-back football team. So they don't want to be in that situation. They're the team more than anything that wants to get ahead early on.
I also think that Texas Tech D-line, with the team that wants to run the football, Texas Tech has easily the best run defense grade in the country right now. I know it's been 3 weeks against subpar competition, but I still think that run defense is going to be elite for Texas Tech this year. If they can slow down that Utah ground game and make Devin Dampier win in obvious passing situations, that's an avenue for Texas Tech to win the game too. It's going to be razor thin. I really didn't know who to pick here, but I'm going to ride with my preseason champion in Texas Tech by 1 point over Utah, and I still think this is the Big 12 title game we're going to get later on in December, too. I think this is not the last time we're going to see these two teams squaring off.
Entirely possible, but this is a tone setter. To start 1-0 instead of 0-1 when this Big 12 is still relatively wide open, even with these two maybe near the top of it. It's a big game, maybe the biggest game of the year in the conference.
Absolutely. So Dalton riding with his preseason Big 12 pick. I'm riding with my preseason Big 12 pick in what should be an awesome Big 12 game, maybe the biggest Big 12 game of the entire season. Next up, another noon game. The one that I had to force Dalton to do late at night a couple nights ago, but we're going to do it anyways. It's a great game. SMU at TCU, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. These are two programs looking to establish themselves as at-large playoff contenders, because if you look at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, TCU, I mentioned before, third in odds to win the Big 12. SMU is sixth in odds to win the ACC right now. So since neither of these teams are even in the top two of favorites in their conference right now, their most likely path to making the 12-team college football playoff is as an at-large bid. TCU is trying to start 3-0 on the season. They beat North Carolina by a lot in Week 1, and they beat Abilene Christian this past weekend. SMU, meanwhile, is 2-1 on the season after beating East Texas A&M and Missouri State while losing to double overtime to Baylor in Week 2. The winner of this game has a great chance at joining the top 25 heading into Week 5, while the loser suffers a major blow to their resume.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you talk about the loser of this game, especially if it's SMU, at-large consideration is pretty much done if they've already got Baylor and TCU losses. And then we would have more concerns about SMU even just heading into what seems to be a little more open ACC than we thought it was. It's not nearly going to be as easy for SMU to get to the playoff as it was last year. Not that it was easy last year, but it's an even tougher road this year, I think, in the ACC. As far as TCU goes, you know what? You get out of conference play undefeated. You get into a Big 12 where it's pretty open. I know we like those first two teams we talked about in Utah and Texas Tech, but TCU's playing pretty good football right now. And if they can come out with this win, they feel really good going into conference play. So it's going to be a fun ball game.
So you have the SMU offense in this one with a quarterback in Kevin Jennings that led SMU to the playoff last year, but he's been a little shaky so far this year.
He certainly has. And Kevin Jennings is a roller coaster. I think this game comes down to turnovers. Now, big factor in SMU winning this matchup last year was the fact that they won the turnover battle 5-1. Okay, they turned TCU over 5 times. Kevin Jennings actually in that game was about as conservative as I've ever seen him. He had the lowest average depth of target that he had in any game last season. It was really conservative. They ran the ball. I believe SMU scored 3 non-offensive touchdowns en route to 66 points. So I think TCU made a boatload of mistakes. Not that SMU, they certainly earned it. You score 66 points on anybody, you earned it. But the biggest factor is that they didn't turn the ball over, and TCU turned it over 5 times. Now, Kevin Jennings, absolute roller coaster, maybe the biggest roller coaster in college football right now, and a big stat that sticks out for me over his past 10 games, 20 turnover-worthy plays. Kevin Jennings, look, he can make plays outside the pocket. 5th in the nation in big-time throws. 2nd in turnover-worthy plays. 15 of them under pressure. When Kevin Jennings gets late in the play and he gets back there and starts improvising, put your seatbelt on because you don't know what's about to happen. It is an absolute roller coaster. It could be the best throw you've ever seen. It could be a turnover-worthy play, an interception. He could run around. He could trip over an official. He could fumble it. You don't know once Kevin Jennings breaks the pocket what in the world's going to happen. I think that's the big thing is that can you get pressure on Jennings? Can you speed the game up on him? Because there's times where he just throws the football into a crowd, right? And you're talking about a TCU team that since the beginning of last year, they blitz quarterbacks at the 5th highest rate in the country. So they're going to speed you up. Last year, he was conservative. He didn't make those big mistakes in that game. I don't believe he had a turnover-worthy play in this game last year. So, this is going to be the big thing because we've seen it, right? We've seen it against Duke last year, even though SMU won. I believe it was 5 or 6 turnover-worthy plays in that game. The Penn State game got away from him. The Baylor game a couple weeks ago, just absolutely all over the place at times. I just think with Kevin Jennings, you're getting about as high variance a quarterback as you could possibly get. So, what you don't want if you're SMU, you don't want to turn around this year after winning the turnover battle 5-1 last year. You don't want to lose it in that manner this year. I think TCU, they need to be more aggressive in this matchup than they were last year. They need to force Jennings into mistakes, and then he leaves the door wide open for you to win a football game, just like he did against Baylor.
Definitely. I'm looking at the other side, the other quarterback in this game too, Josh Hoover, who has been absolutely phenomenal for the Horned Frogs through 2 games so far. 91.5 passing grade on the season. That is 2nd among all quarterbacks quarterbacks in the country. 76% completion rate is 6th in the country too. He's been really good from a clean pocket, posting a 91.6 passing grade. That's 8th in America. That's no different from last year either. He was 14th in the country in clean pocket passing grade, over a 90 passing grade or PFF grade from a clean pocket. He has a top 20 grade under pressure this year at 74.8, but it is a very limited sample size for Josh Hoover. Last year, he had a 56.4 grade against pressure with 1 big-time throw and 8 turnover-worthy plays. So he was a 75 grade against pressure this year. Last year, around a 56 grade under pressure. SMU lost their top 3 pressure leaders from last season, and their pass rush has looked a little sluggish out of the gate. They could only pressure Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor quarterback, on 9 of his 55 dropbacks in their double overtime loss. The Horned Frogs, meanwhile, have been really good in pass protection with the 21st best pass blocking grade in all of college football, and they only let up 6 pressures on 37 dropbacks against North Carolina, too. So I'm looking at really, can SMU find any way to get after Josh Hoover? Because if they can't, he's proven right now he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country when you give him a clean pocket.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think to that point, you're looking at a couple of guys on SMU's defensive line that need to have big games. Cam Robertson and Isaiah Smith, their edge players, need to have big games. And the other thing that intrigues me with Hoover in this game, I've talked about in the past how he's been really good throwing the ball down the middle of the field, right? That he was one of the best passers in the middle of the field. This year, that's adjusting a little bit, and you kind of like the way he's throwing the ball outside and towards the numbers. Max, right now, he's got the second best passing grade at or outside the numbers. That's where you want to attack this SMU defense. They've got 2 really good safeties in Isaiah Nwokobia and Ahmad Moses. The corners, not as great. Deuce Harmon and those guys playing decent football this year, but last year throwing to the outside against SMU is what worked the best. Really like the development of the Idaho transfer, Jordan Dwyer, Joe Manjack, the Houston transfer. You still have Eric McAllister. There's a really nice group of weapons for TCU to work with, but I think a big development for this matchup specifically is Josh Hoover throwing outside instead of just down the seams, because last year there were times where he was in a little bit of this box between the numbers and down the hash marks. If they can throw outside now in this game, I think they're at a lot bigger advantage there instead of attacking those 2 great safeties.
So a couple people to chat right now. Ryan Nelson is taking TCU to win 38-35 in a shootout. Mr. Bucknuts is also taking TCU 41-34 in another shootout. Let us know in the chat, too, what do you think the scores will be for a lot of these games. Dalton, what are you going to say for this game? Who's winning between TCU and SMU in a battle between 2 Texas schools?
I think a high-scoring game is the right way to go. Who knows on which side we will see turnovers. Again, I think this game comes down to the turnover batter. TCU lost it heavy last year, and they lost the game heavy, gave up 66 points. Again, 3 non-offensive touchdowns for SMU in last year's game. Got to clean up the ball security for Josh Hoover and the Horned Frogs offense. And then the other way, Jennings, it's the same thing because there's warning signs. We've seen this with Kevin Jennings for the last 10 games now. Whoever has the better ball security wins this game. I'm believing right now in Josh Hoover and that group of receivers. I think Jordan Dwyer is really good. He's so far been one of the best transfers in the country. I've got TCU 34-31.
I have TCU as well, 31-27. I am worried about the SMU pass rush right now and whether or not they can get after Josh Hoover, because if they can't, I think he could really take advantage of SMU's defense. So I have 31-27, delivering SMU their second loss of the season and really hurting their chances of making it to back-to-back college football playoffs. It's a fantastic noon slate, as Ryan Nelson points out, Dalton, and we have another great noon game on ABC. Arkansas at Memphis. Storylines to know, Arkansas is looking to bounce back right now, while Memphis looks for a signature win for their playoff resume. So Arkansas started off the year with a 2-0 record. They were on the losing end of a shootout this past week against number 17 Ole Miss, losing 41-35. The Razorbacks were on the road once again this week and looking to take down an undefeated Memphis squad. Memphis, meanwhile, like I said, is trying to stamp themselves as legitimate playoff contenders this year. They were my pick to win the American this year. If they win, it'll be their first 4-0 start on the season since 2019. And that year, Dalton, in 2019, that was the last time Memphis finished the year as the highest-ranked Group of 5 team, and they lost in the Cotton Bowl to Penn State in a game actually that I was in attendance for in that game. Micah Parsons went nuclear in that game for Penn State. It was the best game I think I've ever seen a defensive player have And Journey Brown, the running back for Penn State, unfortunately is no longer playing football. He had a great game too, but that was the last time that Memphis was the highest-ranked Group of 5 team. So they're trying to make it another year this year where they could be in the playoff this year.
Well, this is a big story, and the American Conference is really a huge story. When you look at the opportunity Memphis has here, when you talk about USF beating Florida a couple weeks ago, Tulane has wins over Northwestern and Duke, and they're playing Ole Miss this week. We'll get to that game in a bit. Army beat Kansas State, right? Navy's got a really good football team. You look, this American Conference, the signature wins obviously matter a lot, and you still have to win the conference. You really are competing now, let's say, with teams, in the Group of 5 outside the conference as well, right? UNLV and whoever wins the MAC or the Sun Belt, right? So I think when you talk about this signature win and the consideration that you could get as beating an SEC team if you eventually win the American, that's big time. That's really big. I think it's these wins that the American are racking up against the Power 4. They're bigger than just about any other wins that, Ohio beat West Virginia. That's a solid one, but they're bigger than just about any other wins that these teams are getting, especially when you talk about, again, teams in the SEC. And you've already seen, again, USF beat Florida. Tulane's got an opportunity against Ole Miss. And if Memphis can get this win right here, it's big time for the rest of the season and their chances to be selected down the line for a playoff spot.
So you have the Arkansas offense with a quarterback that Ryan Nelson called Taylor Green is awesome, according to Ryan Nelson. I completely agree. Taylor Green is one of the most electric players in college football. How will Memphis try to handle both him and the run game for Arkansas?
Yeah, electric players in an electric offense in this offense under Bobby Petrino and what he's done the last year plus with them. And I think a big thing for Memphis here is if you let Arkansas have balance, you're going to have a problem, right? You want to make Green drop back and throw the football. Now, he can throw the football vertically, no question, but sometimes horizontally and underneath in those obvious drop back situations, he won't hurt you quite as much. He did have 2 turnover-worthy plays last week against Ole Miss, but he still had them within 20 yards of winning that ball game before the fumble at the end. The thing for me with Arkansas's offense is if you let them run the edges, I don't think their interior offensive line is great when it comes to run blocking, but if you let them run off the edges, you're going to have a real problem with Taylor Green and with Mike Washington Jr. in the backfield, off tackle running under Bobby Petrino since the start of last year. 27th in rushing grade, 16th in yards per carry, 12th in touchdowns, 19th in explosive run rate. They're basically a top 20 team running off tackle, and they do it in kind of a unique way. So, we have it categorized in our system as pull leads, basically those pin pull concepts where you're pulling front side offensive linemen out to the edge, right? You're getting a lot like Kyle Shanahan does in his offense where you've got maybe tight ends or receivers coming down, chipping down on those defensive ends, and then you got guards and tackles pulling out to that same side. This is how Arkansas does it. They run those plays at the second highest rate in the country. They do it with Taylor Green on the keeper. They do it with Mike Washington getting out on the edge. If you let this team in Arkansas start running east and west and they get those pin pull concepts going, you're going to have a real problem both A, with their run game and just those athletes getting out there, but B, the play action game that comes along with it, the read option game with Green that comes on the backside of it. Very, very dangerous run game is where it starts here for Bobby Petrino. I think Memphis defensive ends and linebackers need to be very conscious of keeping contain in this game. Ole Miss didn't even really do it last week when you look at keep and contain on Taylor Green especially. This is a tough run game to defend. It's a unique run game to defend, and if they get into it and they have balance in this offense this week, Memphis is in trouble.
So Taylor Green is one of the most electric quarterbacks in the country. One of the most electric quarterbacks in the Group of 5, in my opinion, is Memphis quarterback Brendan Lewis, the Nevada transfer, who has been phenomenal so far with Memphis. He was great last year with the Wolfpack too. Really, I'm looking at can he exploit this Arkansas secondary. So last year, Arkansas had the 7th worst coverage grade in the Power 4 with only a 61 coverage grade on the season. Their secondary did look much better in their first 2 wins over Alabama A&M and Arkansas State, but those same issues reared their ugly head this past weekend against Ole Miss. The Razorbacks had only a 52.4 coverage grade in the loss to Ole Miss, even though the Rebels were on a backup quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss. Arkansas has another difficult road test this week against the Memphis Tigers. So Brendan Lewis last year had a 90.1 PFF grade at Nevada. This year, he has an 86.2 PFF grade, a top 20 mark in the country, 86.1% adjusted completion rate. Basically, your completion percentage plus any drops your receivers have. So he's been on target for over 86% of his passes. The only quarterback who's been on target more is Julian Sayin. the Ohio State quarterback. He's the only quarterback in America who has been more accurate than Brendan Lewis so far this year. So against an Arkansas
Lewis right now with a 92.5 deep passing grade, just outside the top 20 in the country. He's going to look to take shots, especially with Cortez Braum, his number one receiver, who came with him from Nevada. You have Jamari Hawkins underneath as more of the underneath yak guy in the slot. I think what you're really talking about here is Arkansas. We said it last week. Until this Arkansas secondary can just keep things in front of them, they're going to keep getting in shootouts, and they're going to win some of those shootouts. They're going to lose some of those shootouts because that's just how those types of games go. We saw it last week. It can come down to one fumble, and yes, Talon Green was driving down to tie the game, but one mistake in those games on offense can really cost you. They didn't get stops last week. It cost them the game against Ole Miss. If they can't do it again this week, especially on the deep ball and in the secondary, you have a problem. They're trying to revamp this thing, but it's tough.
So after losing last week against Ole Miss, will Arkansas bounce back this week, or will Memphis get a massive win for their playoff resume?
I do really like Talon Green, and I like this backfield duo, him and Mike Washington back there. I think their offense is really good. I think they're going to have balance. This is a fantastic football game, and the fact that it's at Memphis, there's going to be a lot of hype. All right, you got two schools very nearby each other. It's at Memphis. Memphis looking for a huge win, but I do think we're going to get a good amount of points in this game. I think eventually Arkansas's run game wins the day, and Green makes enough big plays, more so than Lewis. I'm taking Arkansas 30-24.
Okay, I have Arkansas winning this game as well, 35-30. It should be a high-scoring game. I think Brendan Lewis will have a lot of big-time throws against that Arkansas secondary, but I think Memphis' defense will have some difficulties containing Talon Green as both a runner and as a passer. I think Arkansas bounces back from its shootout loss to Ole Miss last week with a shootout win over Memphis this week. So I have 35-30 Arkansas taking down the Memphis Tigers and bouncing back from their loss to Ole Miss. All right, next up in the 3:30 slate right now, another ranked game. Number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The storyline is very simple. Jackson Arnold makes his return to Norman, Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold was a 5-star recruit at quarterback in the 2023 class, and he was supposed to be the quarterback that led Oklahoma back to the college football playoff. But in his first year as a Sooner starter last year, in his sophomore year, he had only a 57.7 passing grade and was even benched for a few games at Oklahoma. So Oklahoma instead brought in John Mateer, who right now is a betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Jackson Arnold was sent packing. He ends up at Auburn, and he's been really good for Auburn, starting to show why he was a 5-star recruit in the first place with an 83.1 PFF grade so far, and the Tigers are 3-0 to start the season. He'll make his return to his former school in his former stadium in Norman, Oklahoma in this massive top 25 SEC showdown.
How could you not love it? How could you not love it, right? And I know there's a lot of complaining the transfer portals ruin college football and all this stuff, but how could you just not love the idea that Jackson Arnold this is their first SEC game, right, Auburn?
Yes.
His first SEC game with Auburn. They get to go back to Oklahoma. And he gets to try to get revenge. And John Mateer is the betting favorite for the Heisman. All the hype's on Oklahoma, but Auburn's played really well so far. I think Jackson Arnold's played really well so far, and just a fascinating football game. And you've got two teams. Look, I think this game for both of these teams as well would be suddenly. And Oklahoma's got a brutal schedule, big time. But this game for both teams, a win would be, I think, the start of a potential playoff campaign. This is such a huge game. The fact that they're both undefeated, obviously everything that goes around, and you're going to feel the intensity on every play of this game. But the level of importance, the storyline behind it, what these two teams are trying to do to get back to the top of college football, right? Because we haven't seen them really at the top in a little bit here. I think the most fascinating game of the week. I really do. I think this game right here, it's got everything you could want in a college football game.
Got a little bit of like an appetizer for this kind of game last week with Darian Mensah making his return to Tulane after he lost to Tulane, his former school at Duke, in Tulane. Now we got a big one, though. We got Jackson Arnold making his way back to Oklahoma. I cannot wait to watch this one. But Dalton, you have the other side of the ball. You have John Mateer, the Heisman favorite right now, leading the Oklahoma offense. What should we know when the Sooners have the ball in this game?
So I think Oklahoma has got a bit of a different identity than we thought they would, because we thought they would be, okay, they've got John Mateer, and they've got Jaden Ott, who's barely been used much, and they've got, rushing threats like Torrey Blaylock, who's their second leading rusher behind Mateer right now. Javonte Barnes, I think did you have him as a top 10 running back room, if I remember?
Oh, yeah, I did.
but they really haven't run the ball that well. Mateer did a nice job against Michigan. A lot of design quarterback runs that they even talked about changed the numbers of Michigan's fronts, because that's what happens with the quarterback run game. But as a team, they just haven't – I don't think they've run the ball particularly well outside of, when they needed to against Michigan. 34th in rushing grade, yeah, because they do have those threats in the backfield, especially Mateer, but 94th in run blocking grade. 110th in yards per carry, 78th in explosive run rate. And to be honest with you, all of this is out on the edges. With their offensive line, they have struggled big time to run between the tackles. It has not been easy, it's not going to get easier in this game against Keldrick Falk and that big defensive line that Auburn has. We've seen teams that they've played against already, especially Baylor. They had a hard time running the football. Auburn last year had the 10th best run defense grade in the country. This year, they're 7th. They've just got these big monsters up front, and they give you nothing. I mean nothing between the tackles. When they keep contained and they funnel it back into that monster defensive line that they have, they give you nothing between the tackles. So Oklahoma, I think the plan is going to be, again, that Ben Arbuckle's going to try to be pulling linemen and changing numbers and getting John Mateer going out on the edges. But that's where they're going to have to win, because I don't know that they're going to run between. This is not the week that they're going to start running between the tackles and being great down in there. And it's the other thing for me, just as a whole, and that's part of the theme, is how much can John Mateer just be their offense, really, to me, almost by himself, right? Yes, they have Deion Burks. They have on the outside, they have Jaron Kanak, who's been a very interesting story at tight end, been a really productive player. But that's going to be the thing for me, is how far can John Mateer carry them? And is he going to be able to do the Haynes King thing where he had 19 carries against Michigan? Can he do that again against this team? And is Auburn going to be better in the secondary than they were against Baylor? Is Mateer going to be able to have those deep shots, at least a couple of them throughout the year that he's getting kind of famous for, especially outside the pocket? There are so many elements to this, but I do think Auburn's run defense is a massive, massive X factor in this game against an Oklahoma team that I don't think has run the football at the level they really want to, even against their easier opponents.
Yeah, the Keldrick Falk has really impressed me so far as a run defender for Auburn. My matchup to watch on the other side is obviously, can Jackson Arnold handle the pressure literally and figuratively? Obviously, he's got a lot of pressure on him as he's returning to his former school. He spent the first 2 years of his college career in a big-time top 25 showdown, but also literally, because his ability to handle Oklahoma's pressure from Brent Venables could be a huge determining factor in whether or not Auburn can win this football game. Let's look at Jackson Arnold's PFF grades by situation this year. 90.1 PFF grade when kept clean, 22nd in America. 127th when he's under pressure, though. When he's not blitzed, 9th best PFF grade in the country. When he is blitzed, 103rd. So he's outside the top 100 in PFF grade when he's under pressure and when he's blitzed. But when he has clean pockets to work with and when defenses don't send 5 or more rushers at him, he's a top 25 quarterback in college football. Now, the problem for him in this game is that Oklahoma does an excellent job at getting after opposing quarterbacks. Their 46.9% pressure rate is 5th in college football. 49% blitz rate is 18th in college football. Brent Venables, who coached Jackson Arnold over the last 2 years at Oklahoma, he knows him very well. And he knows that he's not very comfortable when he's blitzed or when he's under pressure. Because even last year, the grades were pretty similar last year. Jackson Arnold was decent when he wasn't blitzed and when he wasn't under pressure. He was not very good at all when he was under pressure. He was 143rd in PFF grade under pressure last year at Oklahoma, 136th in PFF grade when he's blitzed last year at Oklahoma too. So Brent Venables is going to dial it up against his former quarterback in this game. Can Jackson Arnold handle the pressure figuratively against his former school and his former stadium, probably a lot of his friends on the other sideline and also in attendance in the game? And literally, can he handle the pressure from Oklahoma's defensive line and on the blitzes from Brent Venables?
Yeah, no, I think the big thing is the pressure. Can Auburn continue to run the football as well as they have, right, with Jackson Arnold, with Damari Alston, with Jeremiah Cobb? Can they stay out of those obvious passing situations? Michigan couldn't do that a couple weeks ago. And for a frame of reference, and look, Jackson Arnold obviously is not a true freshman, so it's a little bit different, but Brent Venables blitzed Bryce Underwood 65% of the time. I mean, he's blitzing more often than he's not. It's coming. And look, I think that's going to be a thing in big moments in this game. Brent Venables is going to send heat at Jackson Arnold. And what is he going to do with it? Now, the other question is it going to be man coverage behind it with those big-time receivers, with Eric Singleton, with Cam Coleman, and those guys on the outside? That's a dangerous play also. Is there a zone blitz package that he's got? We know Brent Venables has something different every week. I think it starts, though, with stopping the run and getting Auburn into those bad situations. If Auburn's in 3rd and 8, they can certainly expect pressure, and Arnold's going to have to get the ball out of his hands.
And in that game against Michigan, Bryce Underwood had a 40.3 passing grade, and he only completed 9 of his 24 passes.
4 for 15 against the blitz.
Yeah.
4 for 15 with a 30 passing grade against the blitz. He sent heat at Underwood. Michigan never had an answer. Now, we both believe that Auburn has a much better offensive line than Michigan as well. Connor Lew and those guys up front.
And a better receiving core, too.
Yes, they're going to play. That supporting cast in the offensive line especially is going to play a very key factor in picking all those things up.
So, ultimately, in Jackson Arnold's return to Oklahoma, will he get revenge on his former school, or will Oklahoma continue their undefeated season?
I went back and forth on this one, man. You're darn near flipping a coin, I think. I really do. I think Auburn's a darn good football team. And what I've liked through 3 weeks with what Hugh Freeze has done with Auburn is, yes, they got Jackson Arnold. Yes, they got Eric Singleton and Xavier Chaplin and all of the things that should and, yes, has made their passing game better than it was in the past couple of years. But he has stuck to their identity. Right, he is stuck to, hey, we want to have an elite offensive line. We want to run the football. That Baylor game in week 1, I think, was a perfect example. Jackson Arnold, they won that game. They physically dominated Baylor, and Baylor, obviously, the run defense is not what we thought it was. But Arnold only threw the ball, I believe it was 17 times in that game. He said, you know what? We're going to stay on the gas in the run game because we have no reason to change it. I have no reason to get flashy. Hugh Freeze is still a coach that wants to run and stop the run first. I think he's going to be able to do that in this game. I think there's an element of this game that if Oklahoma's going to win, they do have to get pressure on Arnold and their defense has to play great. And Mateer can play hero ball. But if Oklahoma's not going to be able to run the football on this team, especially not between the tackles, because I think that's going to be a big weakness for them, then you're asking Mateer to do a lot. Maybe he does it. Maybe he's the best player on the field. I actually like Auburn's offense in a well-rounded sense a little bit more right now. I think Hugh Freeze sticks to their identity. It's going to be a very physical football game. I think it's going to be some good defensive plays made on both sides. Auburn 23-20.
Wow.
Jackson Arnold gets the revenge. And I don't think it'll be revenge in the sense he's not going to go out there and throw for 350. That's not going to be
I don't think so.
I think if Auburn wins this game, they tune out the noise, they stick to their identity, they stick to what's been working.
So you have 24-20, Oklahoma winning.
23-20, yeah.
Oh, sorry, 23-20.
Yep.
I have 24-20 with Oklahoma winning. You have Auburn winning, I have Oklahoma winning. In this game, I worry about Jackson Arnold against that Oklahoma defense and his former coach, Brent Venables, who likes to dial it up with a lot of blitzes, a lot of pressure, and Jackson Arnold has not been great against blitzes or pressure in his career so far, and I trust John Mateer a little bit more than Jackson Arnold in this game, the current Heisman Trophy favorite in John Mateer. It should be a low-scoring game. I do not think this will be a shootout between Mateer and Jackson Arnold, although it would rule if it was a shootout between those two. It would rule.
I think for this game, if I'm looking at it from Auburn's perspective, it's kind of funny. Offensively, I think their biggest down is first down. Get ahead of the chains so Venables can't. If you're in 3rd and 2, I think Venables is a lot less likely to send those types of blitzes because there's still the opportunity to run the ball. When Auburn's on defense, I think this game comes down to 3rd down.
Yeah.
It comes down to 3rd down and just can you keep John Mateer from making those hero ball plays that he can make that can flip the game around, because it only takes for him with either the deep shots or running the football, it only takes 4 or 5 plays for Mateer to turn a game on its head. I think 3rd down is huge for Oklahoma on offense. I think first down is huge for Auburn on offense.
So everyone in the chat also agreeing with me. Got 9-time champs getting Oklahoma 27-24, Ryan Nelson 27-20, Oklahoma Enrique Comes with a 23-21.
Nobody's riding with me. Come on now,
Mr.
people.
Bucknuts taking 31-20. So
I gotta
they're all
have
on my
one.
side.
Well, get Zach Tantillo in there. Where is he?
Yeah, we gotta get.
That's my. I have him. I'll take me and ZT over all of you. I'm not worried about it.
PFF social great Zach Tantillo was a diehard Auburn fan, Auburn alum as well. He'll be locked in for that game, but it should be a whale of a ball game. And Jackson Arnold's return in a top 25 SEC showdown. Before we get to the rest of our previews for Week 4, got to talk about our upset picks of the week. This PFF betting segment is brought to you by DraftKings. Lines and odds are subject to change. So to remind people, in our upset picks of the week, Dalton and I cannot pick anyone from the games we preview. So we got to take a underdog to win outright. And whatever their money line is, you get that amount of points added to your point total too. So, for example, if someone is a plus 200 underdog, they actually beat the team that you picked, then you get 200 points added to your total right now. So right now in the season, Eli, our producer, is beating both of us. He was a champion last year of the upset picks. He's right now the leader this year with 130 points on the season. I'm right behind him with 124 points on the season. And Dalton, you have 0 points on the season.
Nothing.
You have not hit
Nothing
an upset
so
pick
far.
yet.
We're working on it.
Let's get producer Eli, who currently is in first place, the defending champion right now. Eli, what is your upset pick of the week?
This week, give me NC State plus 136 over Duke. They are currently 2-1 against the spread. And you know what they say, good teams win, great teams cover. CJ Bailey's having a good start to the year, 87.1 overall grade. And Duke has really struggled in coverage. They have the third worst grade in the Power 4. So if Bailey can get hot, give him the Wolfpack.
I actually was going to pick this before I changed my pick. So I actually like this pick a lot. And this would be, 3 straight losses for Duke now?
It would. I considered this one as well. I think what you have with Duke is a situation where they're just, unlike the old Denny Green saying, they are not who we thought they were. I thought, especially, and Eli mentions the coverage grade, that's the most shocking part of all of it. Their secondary was the best part of the team last year, and the last 2 weeks against Luke Altmaier and against Jake Retzloff, they haven't looked great on defense. And the blitzes can get home, and CJ Bailey's still a young quarterback, but he's played well so far. He had, a double-digit comeback very early last week against Wake Forest. Looks like he's developing alongside the rest of that NC State offense. I get it. I get it right now. Fading Duke. I know we're kind of working off last year's reputation with them being favored, but NC State's offense is rolling. Duke's defense not quite so much. I kind of like that one.
I'm going to go next. I have one that I was shocked at how much of an underdog this team was. I have Maryland plus 260 over Wisconsin. Maryland might be the better football team. They really might be. And it's going to be at Wisconsin, of course. It's a tough place to play. I've been there a couple times. It's an awesome, awesome stadium, Camp Randall. But Maryland's off to a 3-0 start this year. They have the 4th highest graded defense in the country, 3rd in coverage grade, 7th in run defense grade. They have the 3rd best pass blocking grade in college football right now, too. Now, I know they played FAU. You're, of course, FAU Owls. They played Northern Illinois, and they played Towson. Not a great schedule so far. But I've been impressed by Maryland. They've killed all 3 of those teams. Malik Washington, their true freshman quarterback, 84.5 PFF grade so far. 7 big-time throws, tied for the 9th most in the country. Wisconsin, meanwhile, they're 2-1 on the season. They lost badly to Alabama this past weekend. And ironically, another former quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., like Jackson Arnold, making his return, playing against his team in Maryland, former team in Maryland.
Is he back healthy enough?
We don't know.
If Billy Edwards is out and it's Danny O'Neal again for Wisconsin, I think you like that bet even more for Maryland. And either way, Maryland might have the quarterback advantage in that game, even if it is Edwards.
I think so too. So Billy Edwards Jr. playing his former school, if he does play, but he has a knee sprain, did not play in the Alabama game either. So if he's out, Danny O'Neal right now only a 55.7 passing grade on the season. I was shocked that is plus 260 right now for Maryland. That's to me is easily the best upset bet of the week.
You're talking about a team, again, an exciting true freshman quarterback, a team that leads the nation in interceptions on defense, in part because they had 6 against FAU, but look, this team, they're getting better. Mike Loxley's got them going, and behind this freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, I get it, man. If they're riding the momentum and they have the better offense in this game, and Wisconsin, again, solid defense. They didn't get to show it last week at Alabama, but that's a tough task. But if Billy Edwards is out and Danny O'Neal's playing again, I get feeling really good about that because they're about a 7 or 8 point dog in that game? I think somewhere around there. So I get it, absolutely. If you're going to take a swing, I think that's a good one to take.
What is your upset pick of the week?
I'm going to go back to a team that we really like. You picked them. I think you picked them as your upset special in week 1 over Mississippi State. Didn't get the job done. Southern Miss down in the Sun Belt. They've won their last 2 games. Charles Huff is getting this defense rolling. Braylon Braxton, their quarterback, has looked better since that Mississippi State game. I believe it's 6 big-time throws in the last 2 weeks. Playing Louisiana Tech. It's at Louisiana Tech. They're a solid running team, but they don't throw the football very well, and this is a really good coverage unit for Southern Miss, led by Josh Moten, the star cornerback, transferring, obviously, with Charles Huff and all those other Marshall guys from Houston. I think Southern Miss is getting it rolling. I think people, I think the books are not buying in on them yet enough because of the loss to Mississippi State, but in the first half, they were in that game. I mean, I'll be honest with you, are a solid football team. You have them as your runner-up in the Sun Belt this year. I agree that they have a lot of talent. Braxton's getting better as the weeks go on. I think as long as they stop the run reasonably well against Louisiana Tech, I think Southern Miss goes down there and gets that game.
I like that a lot too. We should have a couple people in the chat throwing their upset picks of the week. I love this. People, I want to hear your upset picks too. Ryan Nelson, Troy is 5-point dogs. He has them beating Buffalo outright.
Thought about that one. Buffalo. I think they squeaked one out against Kent State last week.
Yeah.
I thought Troy was one that I thought about. Eli's was one I thought about. If I was taking a huge swing, I don't want to make anybody angry, but I thought about that Wyoming-Colorado game a little bit.
Oh, no.
Because that offense.
Can't do it to our Buff faithful.
The only thing is I don't know who's starting at Colorado at quarterback, right? If I knew it was Ryan Staub again, the way he played what we saw last week against Houston, I would think about it. Because Wyoming didn't play a terrible football game against Utah last week. They just had a hard time scoring.
I'm happy you didn't do that, considering I think most of our subscribers might be Colorado fans.
I was just like I don't think Wyoming has enough offense.
You'd be public enemy number one for our fan base if you did that.
Well,
after loving you last year, that you picked against Colorado every game we previewed them this year, that would be bad.
When you have quarterback problems, it's kind of the same deal you had with Wisconsin there. When you have quarterback problems, it's an issue.
And how about Enrique Comas saying Rutgers plus 120 against Iowa?
Thought about that too. Calic Manis is playing pretty good football so far. We know Mark Gronowski in the passing game for Iowa has been struggling. The game is at Rutgers. I think if you can contain that run game and that offensive line, that's another one I did think about. That's a good Friday night game.
I like that a lot. He said it's always a Friday night game too. Yeah, it always feels like Rutgers-Iowa is always like a Friday game. They always do.
Yeah, it's just like that game. You're like, oh, it's on. Okay,
yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Rutgers playing Iowa tonight. All right, cool.
I love those. To remind people too, we also do a parlay of all three of our upset picks. Unfortunately, the parlay is over so far. We came very close one week where Eli and I hit ours in the week 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you missed yours because, of course, you bet UConn over Syracuse like a jerk. Eli, you have the parlay odds this week, though, I believe, right?
Yes, I do. It is plus 21.75. So $10 wins you $227.52.
All right.
Wow.
Maryland, Southern Miss, NC State.
Listen, knock on wood, but I do love all three of our picks.
I feel good about it this week.
I feel good about all three of our picks every week.
Mine is the longest
fun.
shot, obviously at plus 260, but again, I get it. Juicy though. I like that.
Well, that's what's got our odds so high because I think that's almost twice the odds we had last week.
I'll tell you what, I would throw $10 on our parlay. I'll also throw $10 on our parlay plus Troy and plus Rutgers to throw the chat spots.
Oh, wow.
I wonder what that would be.
Let's go.
I'll do all 5 of them then.
All right.
We'll
get an update on Twitter once you do that. I got to see that. Maybe I'll hop in with you on that.
But anyways, the rivalries are real, the bands are loud, and the upsets, they're already shaking up the rankings. College football is rolling, and there's still time to turn your picks into big payouts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Think you know the game? Prove it every Saturday. From live betting during the game to rivalry week odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff until the final whistle. Whether you're betting on your go-to team or making moves mid-game as the momentum shifts, Saturdays are yours to own with DraftKings Sportsbook. Here's something really special for first-timers. New customers, bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PFF. That's code PFF for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21-plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, next up in our Week 4 preview is Tulane at number 13, Ole Miss, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The storylines know Tulane tries to become the clear favorite for the Group of 5 playoffs spot right now. Tulane is off to a 3-0 start on its season. They have 2 victories over Power 4 opponents in Northwestern and Duke. So because of that, and also USF's loss to Miami this past weekend, The Green Wave right now have easily the shortest odds of any Group of 5 school to make the college football playoff. They're currently plus 380 according to DraftKings Sportsbook to make the playoff right now. The next closest Group of 5 school is actually Boise State at plus 600 right now. So they're clearly the favorite to be the Group of 5 playoff team right now. Tulane has an opportunity to become an even bigger favorite this weekend as it goes on the road to face a top 15 team in Ole Miss. Ole Miss is off to a 3-0 start to a season and is coming off a 41-35 win over Arkansas this past weekend. Don't you give me a look right now? You're kind of surprised that Boise State's the second in odds to Group 5.
Are they beaten? Are they favored over Notre Dame or something?
I don't know. I was a little surprised to me too, but yeah.
Is UNLV not still in the Mountain West?
UNLV, I thought USF was to be up there.
I mean, all those teams in the American. Ohio beat West Virginia. I know they're 1-2, but they're pretty good. Okay.
All right.
But
anyway, Tulane is the clear favorite. They're plus 380. The next team is plus 600 right now. So.
I thought the second one would still be USF, to be honest.
So did I.
I don't think. I mean, they got blown out by Miami, but I think that says more about Miami than USF. I still think that USF is really good. They got every opportunity they win that conference. I think you have probably two scenarios, and we're getting early on this, but it's either going to be whoever wins the American, or if UNLV runs the table, then we got a situation.
Yeah.
Or if both of those things happen, then I don't. Two Group of 5 teams this year?
Maybe.
Could we have it?
Could be.
It's too early.
It gets
for
crazy.
All that, isn't it?
You have the Tulane offense, though, with Jake Retzloff, a guy we interviewed last year at BYU. What should we know when they have the ball in this game?
Yeah, something fun. So, I mean, it was going to be an adjustment when Jake Retzloff joined their offense a month before the season started, and he was in a competition for the quarterback spot. Obviously, he won that job. We've seen him play well through the first 3 weeks. I think the interesting part is it's so hard to learn a full offense in such a short amount of time, and I think what John Summerall has told Retzloff is, look, man, you'll learn the offense along the way. Go out there and be an athlete. Just play football. Let's go. And if you make a mistake, our defense will pick up for you. We got a good offensive line that can pass protect. But I think the thing that's impressed me the most about Retzloff is him using his athleticism, using his legs to his advantage. 40 carries so far for Jake Retzloff on the ground, six most among all quarterbacks. 282 rushing yards through 3 games is third. He leads all quarterbacks with 6 rushing touchdowns, had 4 of them against Duke last week, and 10 explosive runs is fourth. He's all of a sudden, at the Group of 5 level gone, you know what? I can run right by these guys, whether it's as a scrambler or I even like the way that Tulane is designing. They've got read option packages that were not in with Darian Mensah last year. They're letting them get in the gun even with 2 and 3 tight ends on the ball, and they're letting them run behind this big offensive line and pick up big first downs. And then I think even in the passing game, they've done a nice job getting designed rollouts and getting bootlegs going. I think one of the differences right now for Jake Retzloff and Tulane, and one of the best weapons in their offense has been him running the football and him just going out there and being an athlete and playing. He is a gunslinger, absolutely, and he's out there. He's going to be a little adventurous at times, but it's been a lot of fun to watch him run the football and work outside the pocket and even in the design run game. I think Ole Miss needs to be very, very aware of that part of their offense. Make him hand the football off on those read options and see if one of the backs can beat you. Keep him in the pocket, make him throw it down the field on your defense. But if you let him get outside the pocket, Jake Retzloff's in a groove right now running the football.
So we know Jake Retzloff will be starting at quarterback for Tulane in this game. We don't know who's playing quarterback for Ole Miss in this game. That's really the biggest matchup to know, is just who starts at quarterback for the Rebels. So head coach Lane Kiffin still trying to figure out who's going to replace his first-round quarterback in Jackson Dart this year. Austin Simmons entered the year as a starter. He had an 82.5 PFF grade as Jackson Dart's backup last year. Obviously a big drive against Georgia, the touchdown drive that really sparked Ole Miss in winning that football game. But this year, though, only a 57.3 passing grade through 3 weeks. And he couldn't even start this past week's game against Arkansas due to an ankle injury that he apparently re-injured on one of his only 4 snaps in that ball game, too. Did throw a touchdown on one of those 4 snaps, but he didn't look very comfortable doing it with that ankle injury. So you had Ferris State transfer, Trinidad Chambers coming in and starting, and he shined in the win for Ole Miss. 85.3 PFF grade in the win. He threw for 353 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was a Division II national champion at Ferris State. He had 2 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays in the win over Arkansas. Even if Simmons is healthy enough to play, and I don't know if he will be with that ankle injury, Lane Kiffin might still ride with the hot hand in Trinidad Chambers, and whoever starts on Saturday will face a Tulane defense that's currently 19th in coverage grade at 88.5, but Dalton only 118th and run defense grade at 64.1. That favors Trinidad Chambliss a little bit more as the more dual threat of the two, the more mobile of the two options, especially if Austin Simmons' ankle is still bothering him a lot. So if I'm Lane Kiffin, I think I might start Trinidad Chambliss in this game.
Well, Coach Kiffin says he anticipates Austin Simmons being ready to start this week and that he'll be the starting quarterback. But he was also very coy about this last week. He never had Simmons on the injury report, and it went up until game time that we really didn't know who was starting. So based on his word, he thinks, or he anticipates, we'll say out loud, that it should be Austin Simmons. But even then, he even acknowledged that he re-aggravated it on that hit he took in the Arkansas game. If he re-aggravates it again, he knows he's got Chambliss waiting in the wings and as a very mobile threat. I think there's even a chance if Simmons can't run as much and they do want to run him a little bit, you wonder if you see them both. Honestly, and as well as Chambliss played last week and the athleticism that he brings to the offense, I think he's going to keep this as far as an official statement on who's starting. I think it's going to be a thing once again like it was this past week where we don't know until we see whoever takes the first snap.
All right, so ultimately, will Ole Miss pull out the victory and move to 4-0 on the season, or will Tulane get a huge, huge victory as it tries to become the clear favorite for the Group of 5 playoff spot?
The passing side of this is actually the more interesting part to me because Tulane's secondary is really good. They've been fantastic through 3 weeks so far. I think it's the best part of their defense. I think their secondary can keep them in this game. I just don't think that Tulane, especially in the passing game with really Amari Hayes as their best receiver and Retzloff still trying to figure out this offense, I don't know that they're going to find quite enough points. I think if Tulane is going to win, then the quarterbacks for Ole Miss struggle and they find themselves in a low-scoring game. I think Ole Miss and that receiving core gets it done. They find enough yards, especially after the catch. If Chambliss plays either a significant amount or the entire game for any reason, the run game is an even bigger factor for Ole Miss. Kawan Lacey he's had a really good couple of games the last couple weeks. I've got Ole Miss 27-20. I think Tulane's defense can keep them in this, and if they can run the football well, then they're going to have a shot to slow this game down and make it more of a slugfest. But also, you're getting an Ole Miss team that just saw Talon Green last week, and I still think I like Talon Green, his ceiling as a runner, a little bit better than Retzloff. You have to be aware of Retzloff outside the pocket, but I think Ole Miss scores enough points to get out of this thing with a win with either quarterback, 27-20.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss in this game as well, 35-27. I think Kawan Lacey will be a big factor in this one. I guess the Tulane run defense has been not great so far this year. And even with Austin Simmons probably starting in this game, I still think we might see a little bit of some packages for Trinidad Chambliss. And who knows? We'll see what happens in that quarterback battle for Ole Miss right now. But I think Ole Miss will win this game 35-27, continue its undefeated year, and Tulane suffers a blow to its playoff resume, although it's still very much alive if they win the American Conference this year. All right, next up, another 3:30 game, the final 3:30 game we're previewing. Number 21, Michigan at Nebraska. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. These are two programs very similar to each other, actually, trying to emerge as playoff contenders in the Big Ten, and they both have anointed saviors at quarterback, too, in these two programs. Neither Michigan nor Nebraska are among the 5 highest-ranked teams in the Big Ten right now, but both have an opportunity to join that group this Saturday and emerge as legitimate contenders for a playoff spot. And the other characteristic that they both share, like I said, they do have quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, that they hope will lead their programs back to glory. Nebraska's Dylan Raiola has an 80.1 PFF grade as a true sophomore. He was the first 5-star recruit that the Cornhuskers got in 19 years at that program. Michigan's Bryce Underwood right now, very solid 73.4 PFF grade as a true freshman. Not only did he enter Ann Arbor as the #1 overall recruit from the 2025 class, he was one of the highest-rated quarterback recruits we've ever seen, too. So two quarterbacks with a lot of hype right now, both of them playing pretty well for their programs, but also two programs, Dalton, that are trying to get to the college football playoff this year.
And Michigan, is obviously very used to playing in big games, and they're going to play in more of them throughout Bryce Underwood's career. What a massive game. This feels like, to me, the biggest game for Nebraska in a long time. I think, I don't think they looked as good in week 1 against Cincinnati as we thought they would. The last 2 games, they've dominated lesser competition, but this feels like the moment. doesn't it?
Yeah.
This does feel like the moment that Nebraska, you get the big home game, Michigan, you get, kind of a runway here over the next handful of weeks in the Big Ten where if they win this game, I feel like they can win a lot of the future games. Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern. I feel like Nebraska can start to put together a case and a road to, look, any of these Power 4 conferences, if you can get to 10 wins, you suddenly have a case. I think if Nebraska wins this game and they're capable of winning this game, then you have a case where you go, hey, they could go 10-2 in the Big Ten. We could start thinking about them a little bit. But this feels like Nebraska's moment where they have to find a way to seize it. How are they going to do it? Who is it going to be? Can they step up in this type of moment? This is what they've been waiting several years for.
Exactly. And you have the Nebraska offense in this one with Dylan Raiola against the Michigan defense. What should we know when they have the ball?
I think, do you remember the days of Russell Wilson in Seattle of let Russ cook and let him sling the deep ball downfield? And I think we have a similar dynamic here. I think Dana Holgorsen, you have to, in this game especially, you want to find out if the 5-star thing is real. You want to find out if Dylan Raiola's that guy, not just good. He is good. I think we know he's good. You want to find out if he's that guy who can beat the Michigans and the Ohio States and Penn States of the world. You have to let him do it. Dylan Raiola, to me right now, they're not allowing him to throw the ball downfield as much as he should be. He's got the third best passing grade, actually tied for third with Ty Simpson from Alabama. Third best passing grade on 10-plus yard throws this year. 94.3 passing grade. 81.5% adjusted completion rate. Best in the country.
Wow.
NFL passer rating, 155.5. Perfect is 158.3. Darn near perfect on 10-plus yard throws this year, 17.4 yards per attempt. The problem is Dana Holgorsen is only allowing him to throw these passes less than 29% of the time. They need to the one thing that what I saw more than anything against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago was an unwillingness to just unleash him. If this is your superstar quarterback, and he's that guy, and he's the savior, and he's the guy who's going to bring you to the promised land for the first time in 15 years and do these big things and be a playoff contender, then he has to be your best player, and you have to allow him to be your best player.
Yep.
Throw into Dane Keith, throw into Neziah Hunter, Ja'Cory Barney. This passing game is supposed to be what Nebraska's built around now, and I love what they've got going in the backfield with the run game too. But this is the moment. You're going to beat a team like Michigan, you got to beat them with your quarterback. And you have to let him. Dylan Raiola is not, I guarantee you this, he's not going to dink and dunk his way to this win. He will not do it. You need him to be the best player on the field. When he has thrown these vertical passes, he's shown you he can do it. Let him do it more often. And you know what? If he attacks and they lose anyway, then maybe you just weren't good enough. But do not lose this game if you're Nebraska. I would be so afraid that you come out of this and we're just like, they were too timid.
Yeah.
Because they were timid in the Cincinnati game. And there was no reason to be. And that was with a 3-man rush and zone defense and everything we thought was advantageous to Raiola. He has the talent. He can make every throw on the field. He can do it. Despite all the noise and everything else about him, Dylan Raiola is really freaking talented. Let him be. Yeah. Let him be. If he's the best player on this field, they can win this ball game. But Dana Holgorsen has to let him do it.
So all eyes will be on Dylan Raiola on Nebraska's offense, and deservedly so. All eyes will be on Bryce Underwood on Michigan's offense, and deservedly so. But really, Dalton, my matchup to watch on that side of the ball, can Nebraska slow down Michigan's run game? Because as talented as Bryce Underwood is, and he is immensely talented, one of the most talented quarterbacks I would say in college football right now, they need to focus on stopping this ground game for Michigan first. Because right now, Michigan runs the ball on over 54% of their plays, the 25th highest rate in all of college football. Michigan has done a really good job of running the football this year, too. 22nd in rushing grade this year, 35th in run blocking grade this year. Justice Haynes, the transfer from Alabama at running back, he's 5th in America with 388 rushing yards so far this season. Even Bryce Underwood has done a really good job of running the football. Last week against Central Michigan.
Batman he is. He's Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Biff Poggi said he's Batman.
Bryce Underwood ran for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns against Central Michigan this past weekend. So, yes, Bryce Underwood is immensely talented as a passer, of course. But this Michigan run game is really what you need to focus on for the Cornhuskers right now. And Nebraska's pass defense has been absolutely phenomenal. Right now, they're actually the best team in the country in terms of EPA per pass at negative 0.534. However, The Cornhuskers have had far more issues in run defense, especially in their Week 1 win over Cincinnati. Nebraska had a 42.8 run defense grade in that game. It's worst since the 2022 season. Cincinnati averaged 6.7 yards on the ground, 2.9 yards before contact. So they weren't even getting contact on the Cincinnati ball carriers. And Brendan Sorsby, we mentioned before how Bryce Underwood's a really good runner. Brendan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, had 96 rushing yards on the ground in that game. He led the Bearcats in rushing yards that game. He also had 2 touchdowns on the ground in that game too. So Bryce Underwood's legs could be a big factor in this one. I think Michigan's strategy in this ball game will be to let Justice Haynes, let Bryce Underwood, let that offensive line kick ass in the run game, and only rely on Bryce Underwood as a passer when they need to, because Michigan's receiving core still isn't the best right now, and Nebraska's pass defense has been outstanding this year. Michigan's going to want to win this game by utilizing their ground game first.
Same old Michigan.
Yeah.
That's nothing changes. It could be Jim Harbaugh, it could be Sharon Moore, it could be Biff Poggi, it could be you or me head coaching them. It's probably going to be the same way. They're going to play defense, they're going to run the football, and they're going to grind you down physically. They don't care if they win by 1 or if they win by 30. And now if they win by 30 on the ground like that, then great. But Michigan, look, they have a brand, they have an identity. We know what it is, and everything you just said there is same thing we say about Michigan pretty much every time we talk about them, until Underwood really, really gets it going in the passing game, and that'll be exciting when that happens. But for now, I'm with you. Michigan's going to go on the road, and they're going to stick to their identity, and if that identity wins them the game, then so be it.
Yep. So ultimately, Dalton, in this battle between 2 Big Ten teams that want to make the playoff, in this battle between 2 former 5-star recruits at quarterback, who will win between Michigan and Nebraska?
Oh, boy, this is a fun football game, because I think it's just so much on a team that has been there, that won a national title 2 years ago. Many of these guys were on that team. Now, this is a pretty young Michigan team too, right? Obviously, Underwood and all the young guys. And then you've got Nebraska, who's just so trying to kick the door down so hard, right? Their first bowl game last year since, 2018 it was, I think you said?
Yeah.
18 or 17.
I'll look it up, yeah.
And you have a team this is the game where they need to kick the door down. But watching their offense, I just don't know that Dana's going to let Dylan Raiola really let it rip. And another thing, too, is actually a big injury news. Michigan is expecting to see Rod Moore back at free safety for the first time since that national title game. So this is also – now, if he's 100% and he's the Rod Moore we know and love, that's a huge factor to me. That's just a fantastic football player, one of the best safeties. And if he's not 100%, then it plays to my point about, okay, throw it vertically, please. But – I think the part where Michigan has this identity, and they've been in a lot of these games, and I know they're working through it once. How many times are they going to win games with suspended coaches also? It's just a theme that they have the last few years. But I think that Michigan defense and the run game and that grinding nature of their team, they pulled off 20-16 on the road.
I have it 24-20. By the way, Nebraska's last bowl game was 2016, even farther along.
I remember you've thrown that out there a few times. I always forget what exact year. 26. But they're trying to be. It's that moment where if Nebraska does win, then we sit there and go, oh, they're back. Nebraska's back.
They could be a playoff team, yeah.
And it's
with that schedule, they could be a playoff team.
Just need Dana Holgorsen to let Raiola do I don't want to say do the Patrick Mahomes thing, because that's not the right thing to say here. But, just let him – you have to let him be the best player on the field.
Let him be 2019 Mahomes, where he's slinging the ball downfield, not 2024 Mahomes.
Not now.
Dinking and dunking. Yeah.
No, not the 3-yard average depth of target Mahomes. I need prime Mahomes.
Yeah.
I need early Mahomes. But
he's still prime Mahomes.
Maybe Texas Tech Mahomes. But either way – I'm sticking with Michigan. I just feel like it's stable, and we know what Michigan is, and we're waiting on Nebraska.
I think I'm taking Michigan as well, 24-20. You see it on the screen right there. I think the run game will shine in this game. I mean, you saw Nebraska's run defense have a lot of issues in that Cincinnati game right there. And I think Michigan's defense, with Rod Moore hopefully back this week too, that could stall out the Nebraska offense with Dylan Raiola there too. So it should be a really, really fun game. But I think Michigan will pull off the road victory and really establish themselves as legitimate contenders to make it back to the playoff this year after missing it last year. All right, next up in our preview, now in the night slate now, we got South Carolina at number 23, Missouri, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. The storylines know South Carolina tries to get their season back on track. Missouri tries to establish themselves as legitimate playoff contenders this year. South Carolina was number 11 in the AP poll just last week, but is now out of the top 25 entirely after a 31-7 loss to Vanderbilt at home. They'll try to rejoin the top 25 this week against a Missouri team that's looking to start 4-0 for the third straight season. So Dalton, a team that was number 11 last week, is now 13.5-point dogs this week too. Just, you want to see a South Carolina's really want to see right now, just get their season back on track.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what you have is a team that I think through 3 games has not executed very well offensively. You look at the Virginia Tech win, and the way they did struggle for a decent amount of that game, you look at the Virginia Tech win a little differently because that team's 0-3 and just lost to Old Dominion and fired their coach. It took them almost an entire first half to get going against an FCS team in South Carolina State. And then, I'll be honest with you, I think, and the Lenora Sellers injury plays into this and whether or not he's going to play, but I think they would have lost to Vanderbilt with Sellers for 4 quarters. They did not look like the better team on that field. Vanderbilt looked like the better football team. So I think that spread is a bit wider because of right now the ambiguity surrounding Sellers and the possible head injury, concussion, whatever they're officially calling it, and whether or not he's going to play, because it is going to get harder, obviously, with Luke Doty, we assume, in there as the quarterback. But yeah, I mean, this is also respect for Missouri, who is just raging hot to start the season with this offense, with Bo Pribula, the run game. They've got everything going right now at Missouri. They got a big win over Kansas, even though they were behind early in that game. I think it speaks to where these two teams are at within the first 3 weeks of the season, kind of tossing out preseason expectations.
Yeah, Shane Beamer said about Lenora Sellers, he's optimistic on both of those guys for this game. He said that on Sunday night. So we'll see whether or not he's able to play. I think we had a concussion in that loss to Vanderbilt this past weekend. Dalton, you have that South Carolina offense right now. What should we know in the Gamecocks of the ball in this game?
Okay, so whether it is Sellers or Doty or whoever else at quarterback.
Aaron Olin, maybe.
Aaron Olin, Steven Garcia, whatever, however far back, whoever's suiting up at quarterback for South Carolina. They need to run the football better. Their offensive line has not played well enough. They are not explosive enough in the run game right now. And it seems the highlights have been great. The Sellers touchdown run against Virginia Tech. And, there's other moments where he's breaking out of the pocket. And, Rasul Faison's had a nice run. But it's not consistently getting the job done in the run game. And you don't want to get away from that. Lenora Sellers right now, yes, he's got all the tools. Yes, the draft scouts drool over him. But he's not the best drop-back passer in the country right now. And this team, by design, is supposed to be just about a 50-50 run-pass team. The problem is the run element to it has just not been there yet. 77th in rushing grade, outside the top 100 in run-blocking grade and yards per carry, and yards before contact, bottom 15 in yards before contact per carry. The offensive line is not getting it done. They're not getting it done. They're not opening holes for, yes, a talented group of runners, Sellers and Oscar Attaway and Rasul Faison, right? This team last year was so dangerous because they were dangerous ground and air, right? And they were figuring out the passing game. They've got, obviously, Nick Harbor and a group of raw receivers, and Sellers is raw as a passer. They are not at the moment yet where they can just have Sellers drop back 40 times a game and go, hey, man, Superman, carry us. Let's do it. They're not there yet. They need to run the football. And if they don't run the football well in this game, and Missouri does, this is going to be a real problem. Max, Missouri's got the 10th best run defense grade in the country. They got a good, big defensive line that gives you problems up front. I think they have an advantage over South Carolina's offensive line. Josiah Trotter and those guys at linebacker are really good. Missouri this year as a team, both run and pass game, they've only missed 13 tackles in their first 3 games total. That's it. I believe I want to say that's the fewest or second fewest in the Power 4 that I saw. It's like a top 10 mark in the country. Only 13 missed tackles. They tackle well. They're really physical. They're big up front, and they funnel everything back into Josiah Trotter and these linebackers. This is a real problem with South Carolina trying to run the football. They need to run the football well this week, because if they don't run the ball well and Missouri does, as you're about to get into, you're just going to get choked out in this game like they did last week when Vanderbilt just constantly had the football. It'll be the same story.
Yeah, Missouri's run game has really been good this year. That's my match to watch, is Missouri's run game against South Carolina's run defense. So Bo Pribula, the quarterback, has been really good so far this year. Obviously the 4th best passing grade in the country, 90.8 passing grade. But this Missouri offense that's been red hot so far this season is still centered around its ground game. The Tigers run the ball on over 54% of their plays, the 14th highest rate in the Power 4 so far. Ahmad Hardy, their running back, the transfer that they got this year, he's the early favorite for the Doak Walker Award, I would say right now. He leads the country with 28 forced missed tackles. He leads the Power 4 with 464 rushing yards. He also leads the Power 4 with 340 yards after contact. Missouri is also 17th in the nation with a 73.3 run blocking grade too. So yes, the passing game has been great for Missouri so far, but they want to win with their rushing attack first, and Ahmad Hardy has been a superstar for Missouri at running back this year. South Carolina's pass defense isn't nearly as strong as it was last year. They're only 88th in team pass rush grade, 87th in coverage grade so far, but they've been far better in run defense. They're 25th in the country in EPA per run allowed. If South Carolina can get Missouri behind the chains and make Bo Pribula win as a pure drop back pass run, obvious passing plays, they have a chance of slowing down the Tigers' red-hot offense. But if Ahmad Hardy can get them to second and short or third and short, then all of a sudden South Carolina's defense is behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I mean, we felt like South Carolina last year was a top 5 defense. We really did, and the grading showed that out, especially in pass defense. This year, right now, the 62nd. And I tried to say it, when you lose TJ Sanders and Taka Hemingway and Kyle Kennard and your top 3 linebackers and Nicky Manwari, it's going to take a step back. That's a boatload of talent that went to the NFL, right? So you're talking about a team that needs the offense to step up. The defense, still good defense. It is.
Yeah.
You still have Dylan Stewart and Jalen Kilgore and it's good secondary and guys like that. But this is a test. This is a real test. And I'll tell you, I talked about the Missouri's defensive line, I think, has an advantage. Their offensive line, Connor Tollison at center, one of the best centers in the country. Caden Green, what he's doing at left tackle. We talked about that a couple of times. Dangerous Missouri team. I think definitely better than we thought they would be. I did not think they would look this good offensively. And when you've got not just Ahmad Hardy, but Jamal Roberts as well.
And Bo Pribula.
And Bo as the option threat and everything he can do outside the pocket, designed or scrambling, Missouri's a problem. They're a real problem up front. And it's, to me, it starts still with their offensive and defensive lines, too.
So will Missouri continue their undefeated season, or will South Carolina get their season back on track after losing to Vanderbilt this past week?
I'm in on the Tigers. I'm in. 13.5 might be a little wide, especially if Sellers plays. I've got it 30-20. I think you just have one team that is executing, especially offensively, at a red hot level right now, and I've got a South Carolina team that is not. They're not. Even the Virginia Tech game that they won, there were moments, the big Sellers run on the first drive, the deep post to Nick Harbor, but there's too much just home run and strikeout in their offense. And I think Missouri has advantages on both sides. Now, South Carolina's D-line against Missouri's O-line is more of an even battle. Obviously, you have Dylan Stewart, Brian Thomas Jr. The D-tackles have played reasonably well, especially in run defense, but I still think Missouri has the advantage there, and I think Missouri has a major advantage, their D-line over South Carolina's offensive line and their run defense against South Carolina's rushing offense. Missouri 30-20. I think they get it done.
I have it 27-21. I do have Missouri winning the ball game. I think 13.5 is a lot of points for this game.
They are hedging for Sellers playing. If Sellers doesn't play,
then I get it.
I'm in.
Yeah.
But I think closer to like 9 or 10 is probably better even if Sellers does play. Because again, if they're going to win this game, Sellers has to play, and Sellers has to he has to be Superman. Could be, but it hasn't happened so far. Or they have to execute a lot better against the best team they've played so far. By far, the best team that they have played. Well, Vandy's good. I won't say Vandy's not good. But I would still take Missouri over Vandy right now. Good game, though. I don't know if we're getting that eventually.
I have Vandy ranked above Missouri right now, but if Missouri wins this game by a lot, too, they could be up there.
Yeah. I just think they're so well-rounded.
Yeah, I agree.
Missouri in the trenches might right now be the most underrated team in the country.
I have Missouri 27-21. You mentioned it. South Carolina's offense really is, can Lenore Sellers be Superman for us right now? If not, they don't have a lot of answers offensively. Missouri, meanwhile, is clicking on all cylinders. On the run game, the passing game, the defense for Missouri has been great so far, too. I have Missouri winning this one closer than the spread would indicate. I do like South Carolina plus 13.5, especially with Shane Beamer being optimistic that Lenore Sellers will play from his concussion he suffered this past weekend. So 13.5 is a little too much for me, but I still think Missouri's going to win this ball game. 27-21. Enrique Comas in chat has it Missouri 28-10. He thinks South Carolina. He said they're done. That's what he said. So we'll see.
If they only score 10 points and Sellers does play, boy. We're in for a rough ride down. Well, I was going to say in Columbia, but they're both Columbia. I just thought about
True.
that. But yeah. One way, somebody's in for a rough ride in Columbia, I guess. That's how that works, too. But
we both have Missouri winning this ball game. Before we get to the final 3 games of our slate and some massive games in the night slate, we got to talk about the sponsor of the show, that is Fabric by Gerber Life. Parenting is filled with high-pressure decisions, and it can be difficult to tell if you've made the right choice for your kid's future. But here's a simple decision you can make today that can have a meaningful impact on your kid's future. Opening a UGMA Kids Investment Account with Fabric to start their investment journey early and give them a financial head start. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kids investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Your kids can't invest when they're minors, but a UGMA Kids Investment Account allows them to invest on their behalf now and gives their investments more time to grow. It's all online, and setting up an account can take you just 5 minutes. Get started investing with as little as $1 a day. Then manage your child's account and monitor their investments right from your phone. There are no contribution limits, multiple tax advantages, and they're SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus, no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. It's meetfabric.com/PFFcollege, meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. This is a paid promotion for the Fabric UGMA product and not for investment advisory services. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Custodial services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Terms may apply. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, next up, I would argue the biggest game of the weekend. We have a lot of great games this weekend, but I love this one we have on Saturday night. Number 9 Illinois at number 19 Indiana, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. This is a game that could have massive playoff implications for both teams. So last year, the Big Ten sent 4 teams to the college football playoff: Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana. Those first 3 schools, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, currently, Dalton, have the best odds of any schools in the country to make the playoff this year, according to DraftKings Sportsbook. So those 3 are the best in odds right now in the country. If the Big Ten is going to send a 4th team once again to the 12-team field, the winner of this game is going to be the favorite to do so. Illinois and Indiana are the next highest-ranked teams in the Big Ten after the trio of Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. So this is a game between these two that might be the biggest in their rivalry's history. It is a huge game this week.
I think it's incredible, this game and the Michigan-Nebraska game, that we've got what you would probably consider, we'll see where some others like USC or maybe another surprise team get to, but these are probably the 4 Big Ten teams that we're covering that are the 4 teams fighting for that spot. Yeah. Or if they were to pull off an upset over one of those big 3 teams as well, these are the 4 teams we're talking about. Indiana's also got a game at Oregon. Michigan's always, as always, they're playing Ohio State, and I believe they're hosting Oregon. Nebraska, they have one. They're at Penn State, I think, later in the year, I think it is. I mean, they all have big games against those teams coming, but these 2 games right here, and this Indiana-Illinois game with the 2 of them already ranked, what is it, Illinois' 9 and Indiana's 19?
Yep.
I mean, that's a good call. It's on the screen. I'm just going. See, I memorize things. So
there you go. Yeah.
Things, but no, I mean, to have these 2 games this week and to kick off the Big Ten schedules for each of them, unbelievable way to set the tone. This is going to be an awesome football game.
I cannot freaking wait for this ball game. All right, you have the Illinois offense with Luke Altmaier. What should we know when the Fighting Illini had the ball in this game?
Usually we're about Luke Altmaier and the passing game and the pass protection and all that. I'm going to go a different route here. I'm going to talk about Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey and maybe even a little of Luke Altmaier and this run game for Illinois, because if there's something that I noticed looking at the run game, a lot of zone running, a lot of between the tackles running. Illinois is really good at running between the tackles. In fact, they are leading the nation in rushing grade when they run between the tackles, in successful play rate. They're 13th in yards per carry. They are 2nd in explosive run rate. When they run right between the tackles with these zone run concepts and these backs, especially Caden Fagan, as big as he is, holy hell, he's huge. He's hard to tackle. you have a problem. And then they get the two-way going with the RPOs and Altmaier getting rid of the football quickly. Now, strength on strength. Okay, Illinois this year, maybe they've been the best team in football, in college football, running the ball between the tackles. Indiana, in all those categories I just mentioned, run defense grade, successful play rate allowed, yards per carry, explosive run rate. Since the start of last year, since Curt Cignetti's been there, they're a top 5 team in the country in all of those categories in run defense between the tackles. Who is going to bang their head against the wall on the inside when Illinois has the ball? Can they force Illinois into 3rd and long, into true dropback situations, and then allow Mikael Kamara to get in and terrorize this offensive line? Can they do that? Or is Illinois going to continue this success between the tackles? It wasn't as good against Duke. There were moments late in the game where it was better, but early in the game, a little bit of a struggle. But Illinois, they're coming right at you. Indiana on defense, they're coming right at you. It is going to be a war, I think, in the run game and early downs for Illinois. I wonder even if they go ahead and throw the football a decent amount early with Luke Altmaier to try to loosen things up, because there's some darn good football players still up there in that front 7 for Indiana. I think that's what I'm looking for. How much balance can Illinois have? Can they break down this brick wall on the inside for Indiana?
Yeah, and my match with watching the other side of the ball is the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, against a really aggressive Illinois defense. Illinois blitzes quarterbacks at the highest rate in the Power 4 this year, over a 60% blitz rate for Illinois' defense this year, the highest rate in the Power 4. They also play man coverage at the 6th highest rate in the country at 54%. It was very similar to last year, too, so it's not like a brand new thing through a couple games this year. Fernando Mendoza right now is the 7th best PFF grade among all quarterbacks in the country, the 90.5 PFF grade. But it's worth mentioning, he's faced a soft schedule so far for Indiana. He'll be tested much more this week against Illinois. If you look at his PFF grades by situation this year, when he's blitzed, 46th in PFF grade. When he's not blitzed, 2nd. Against man coverage this year, 144th in the country in PFF grade with only a 53 PFF grade. Against zone coverage, 93.9 grade, 3rd in the country. So when he's not blitzed and against zone coverage, he's a top 3 quarterback in America right now. When he is blitzed and against man coverage, he's either average or well below average right now. No, I will say, at California, it's a limited sample size this year. At Cal in 2024, he was 29th in PFF grade against man coverage, 19th in PFF grade against the blitz. He'll need to perform like his version of himself last year at Cal rather than this one this year at Indiana, because Illinois, like I mentioned, is extremely aggressive. One of the most aggressive defenses in the country with how much they blitz and how much they play man coverage. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly probably, and also get rid of the ball and make tight window throws against man coverage.
Yeah, Mendoza, I think what, for especially draft scouts and things of that nature, what brings Mendoza's appeal to them is his decisiveness. He's very decisive. Sometimes he's almost too decisive and predetermining throws and gets himself in trouble in that way. But I do think as much, Mendoza's obviously an important piece. Look, and you mentioned it, the grades against the blitz and man coverage, they haven't played anybody the first 3 weeks either. Old Dominion was, and now I know Old Dominion now is pretty good. They beat Virginia Tech, but Old Dominion was the best of the 3 teams that they've beaten so far. This is the first real test for Mendoza in this offense, and it's funny you mentioned that graphic and those stats you brought up, because really, whose defense is Mendoza most equipped to beat?
It's Indiana.
It's actually Indiana, right? Yeah. So, but he's not playing against Indiana. He can't beat him, join him. But I think him, Elijah Surratt being able to separate on the outside, Omar Cooper being able to separate on the outside is big. Indiana balancing it with if they ask Mendoza to come in here and carry them through this game, I don't think that's the right idea. And I don't think Curt Cignetti's going to do that. I think they're going to play the same brand of football that they've played for a year plus now on offense. It's going to be balanced. It's going to be RPOs. Yes, they're going to be quick, intermediate throws. I think if you just drop back and go, all right, dude, this is yours, it's not how you want this to work, because even Indiana last year with Curtis Rourke, the teams that blitzed them more and frustrated their offensive line, the teams that were matching up man-to-man with those receivers. Now, you have to be capable of doing it, because it's still a talented group that Indiana has, but think about Ohio State and Notre Dame and Michigan, right? Those teams, they got aggressive, they got in man-to-man, and they blitzed and they twisted and got all sorts on this offensive line and pass protection too. That's going to be a big factor. So this is a fun matchup, especially in his first big game of the year for Mendoza against a super aggressive Illinois defense.
That's a really great point. You just made it. It's just like two defenses with polar opposite philosophies.
Yeah, Indiana's defense is
don't blitz, play zone coverage the most in the country, and Illinois play man coverage and blitz a hell of a lot.
Indiana's defense, and the challenge for Luke Altmaier, not only is it a very talented defense, but the big theme that we saw last year with their defense was rotating safeties. You have to constantly find rotations in zone coverage and trust your eyes after the snap and know where to go with it. I think Altmaier, as a third-year starter, actually doesn't have an advantage there, but I think it's good that he has so much experience seeing all the looks and playing all the games that he has. Mendoza, it's just going to be a matter of, look, man, you want to be that guy? Go out there and make big throws against a really talented defense.
Definitely. All right. And what is, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend between two top 20 teams in Illinois and Indiana? Who will win and really establish themselves as a legitimate contender to make the playoff in the Big Ten this year?
I think it's going to be a darn physical football game.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be some sort of shootout. I know a lot of people love Mendoza, and a lot of people know Altmaier, and they love him too, and he's played really well so far. I think we're getting a low-scoring sort of football game. I think these two defenses are actually the better, more prepared units on the field. And you know, with Fernando Mendoza, and I know this all the hype, and I know last year, you and I both thought he was solid at Cal. It was streaky, he can run hot and cold, and Cal wasn't great, and they didn't have a great offensive line. I need to see it first, right? Because there's QB1 conversation, there's top 20 pick conversation, there's is he the future quarterback of the New York Jets conversation, all that sort of thing, right? I need to see it because at Cal, I saw a solid quarterback, decisive. He can make some throws. He can work outside the pocket a little. I don't think he's an A-plus athlete by any means. And they've played three not very good teams at all. And the game against Old Dominion, they weren't finishing drives. I don't think they looked great on offense in that game. I'm going to go, I think Illinois, and I know Indiana made the playoff last year, but I think Illinois has the more proven commodity at quarterback. Both teams are a very proven commodity on defense. Again, I think the two defenses really control this game. I think it's going to be a matter of who finishes drives in the red zone, and if Mendoza can make 4 or 5 big NFL-type throws. Then we start to look at him a little different against a team like this, right? For now, kind of the same way I have in the Michigan-Nebraska game. I think Michigan's a more proven commodity. I'm taking Illinois as the same thing, 20-17.
I have Illinois 27-24, which is crazy because Indiana is favored actually in this ball game. I have Illinois as well winning this ball game. I think Mendoza will have a lot of issues against Illinois' aggressive defensive philosophy, and also that Indiana defense, their philosophy is kind of suited for Altmaier to have a decent day out there. Altmaier is not great when his blitzes are coming after him or when there's a lot of man coverage, but against zone coverage, he's been really good. This is a defense where Altmaier can have a lot of success. I think Illinois is going to win this ball game, and it'll be a huge game for their playoff candidacy this year.
It's a much easier pass rush for Illinois' offensive line to see coming. It's much more just here's our 4, here they come, right? Josh Kreutz in the middle making the calls, J.C. Davis and Melvin Priestley at tackle. There's not as much confusion, and I think that's a lot of times the same way that I just talked about for Indiana. Illinois last year and even this year against Duke, we've seen when it's complicated looks, the mug looks or stunts or everything else that these teams can throw at you, that's when they get into problems. Indiana's not all that creative up front with their pass rush, which really leans in Illinois' favor because when it's just 4 guys, they're talented enough to block people, but they have always had a lot of communication issues with things like that. Indiana's defense is simpler, especially on the front end, and they just execute really well, and they got good players, but I think Illinois should feel a little more comfortable than against a blitzing coach like Duke or last year when they played Penn State or teams like that. Yeah. I'm with you on that one.
Agreed. All right, so both Illinois winning that ball game, which should be a heck of a game, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend between number 9 Illinois and number 19 Indiana. But where College Game Day is going this week is the next game we're going to talk about. That is Florida at number 4 Miami, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Florida desperately needs to get their season back on track right now. Florida started 2025 as the number 13 team in the AP poll. It was the first time it was ranked in the top 25 of the preseason poll in 4 years. They started off their year with a 55-0 win over an FCS team in LIU, but then lost their following 2 games against USF and number 3 LSU. Pressure is mounting on head coach Billy Napier right now, and they have a daunting schedule ahead too. they need to save their season. The issue for them, they go on the road against a top 5 team in Miami, who I think right now looks like one of the best teams in college football. I have them ranked number 2, actually, in my personal ranking. The Hurricanes already took down 6th-ranked Notre Dame in week 1, and this past week, they beat number 18 USF by 37 points. The same USF team that beat Florida the week before, too. So it gets no easier for Florida right now, but they really, at 1-2 right now, Florida is desperate for a massive victory to get their season back on track.
Yeah, it is, and in theory, what a loss to Miami would do is just take them out of at-large conversation. Florida, in theory, has yet to lose a conference game, right? So you go, okay, well, if you fix things by the time your SEC schedule comes around, then fantastic. If you get a win in this game, then you obviously don't have a third loss, and you're still in at-large conversation. But no, this is they're walking the plank right now, because you've got this game, and then I believe you have Texas.
Yeah, after a bye week, yeah.
And then you have Texas A&M. You got to find a win in there somewhere, because all of a sudden 1-2 turns into 1-5 real quick against those teams.
Texas A&M, Mississippi State, who I would rank right now. You have Georgia after that too. You have Ole Miss. You have Tennessee. You have Florida State.
I think you have every one of those teams ranked except Kentucky, right?
Yeah, if Kentucky I don't have it ranked right now. Everyone else is ranked for me. That's on the docket right now for Florida.
Yeah.
And Kentucky lost by 7 to Ole Miss too. I don't think.
Kentucky. No, I mean, if they could throw the football, they probably would have won that game.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly no game's a pushover, and certainly Florida should treat no game like a pushover right now. That's for sure. But this is a daunting task, especially when you think about. And I know it's Cam Ward and different crew, but Miami went into the swamp last year and pretty much laid waste to them. So they're the guys who are left remaining from that team, especially that big number 4 on the defensive line. And actually, he got hurt in that game. He didn't even get to finish that game, did he? He got hurt early in that. Oh boy. Ruben Bain coming at you for a full. They don't even know what that feels like yet. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Dalton, we actually have the same exact matchup on both sides of the ball. It's all about the trenches in this game, and you have Miami's offense.
Absolutely. Look, if Florida's going to have hope on both sides of the ball, it's going to be in the trenches because their O-line's playing well.
Yeah.
Let me talk about the other side first, Miami's offense. Now, you also had this crew as a top 10 offensive line in college football, deservedly so, and through 3 weeks, and that includes a Notre Dame game, they're the 15th highest graded offensive line, and I expect that probably to move up as the season goes on. And that's out of 136 teams. It's still good. Relax.
And a tough schedule, too.
They're an elite unit, yes. Now, you had Florida as a top 10 defensive line in the country, right, going into it. And Caleb Banks has been playing through some injuries, trying to get through it, right? He's not 100%. But, look, I want to talk about the same exact thing I did last week with Miami USF. If you don't get to Carson Beck, he's going to kill you. Florida Gators defensive line, they're not rushing the passer at all right now. It's not good. Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp, some of those. Look at these numbers. This is not what we thought we were getting out of Florida's defensive line. They have the lowest pressure rate in the Power 4. The Florida Gators, they have 2 sacks in 3 games against Long Island, USF, and they didn't get one last week against LSU. They have 2 sacks in 3 games and the lowest pressure rate in the Power 4. They need, in the worst way, for Caleb Banks, for Tyreek Sapp, for all these other guys on their defensive line, to play the way they did the second half of last year. Because if they don't, and that's the numbers they're going to, if those are the, I believe they've only pressured quarterbacks on 19% of dropbacks. And that's, again, LIU, USF, and an LSU offensive line with 4 new starters, right? They're working through it, right, at LSU on offense, as Brian Kelly knows. If they only pressure Carson Beck 19% of the time, or worse, possibly against a really good O-line in this game, they could almost just walk off the field.
Yeah.
Because the numbers I've already mentioned a million times on Carson Beck in a clean pocket over the last 2+ years since the start of 2023, he's got the 6th best passing grade in the country, and the 5 guys ahead of him were 4 first-round picks and Shedeur Sanders. That's the level Carson Beck is on in a clean pocket. He's leading the nation in completion percentage right now. 82%, I think, of his passes? Yeah. And he's just going to dink and dunk and complete passes and get first downs until you're just choked out. And Mark Fletcher's still going to come at you in the run game, just like Damian Martinez did last year. This team needs to find a way to rush the passer. If they don't get to Carson Beck at all, just like they didn't get to Nussmeier at all last week, they're not going anywhere. They are not going to get anywhere no team will. But this team, especially right now, with as badly as they need their defense to step up, and I know they only gave up 13 points on this defense last week despite that lack of pass rush. I think that says more about LSU than Florida, but you can't walk into a game with Carson. It's just like last week with USF where I was like, nah, USF's not going to do it this time because Carson Beck's a different animal if you don't touch him. If they don't disrupt Carson Beck a lot more than they've been disrupting quarterbacks in their first 3 games, they're going to have a huge problem.
Yeah. Carson Beck has the best completion rate is 79% of the year. 83% adjusted completion rate, though. That's
the number I was saying. I knew the two of them were, but either way, I mean,
79% is still the best in the country.
You got a guy in Carson. Look, the caliber we will talk about later in the spring. Carson Beck's an NFL quarterback in some capacity.
I would say he's the Heisman Trophy favorite right now.
He could be, and if he's going to be protected, and in Miami's credit, A, quick release, and B, great offensive line. He's only been under pressure 11 times through 3 games. The lowest pressure rate on a quarterback of any team in the country versus the D-line that's pressuring quarterbacks at the lowest rate in the Power 4, and I think, what was that, the 6th lowest in the nation?
Yeah.
I think I'd call that a bad matchup.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, they better find a way to get to him or they're going to have a problem.
What should be an awesome matchup, though, is Florida's offensive line against Miami's defensive line. The only thing going right for Florida offensively right now is their front 5. Florida entered the year by number 4 offensive line in the country. That's held serve so far. They're tied for 3rd in the country with an 89.8 pass blocking grade, and they're 16th in the country with a 74 run blocking grade on the season. Their front 5 will face their toughest test of the season this week, though, against Miami. Miami has the 2nd highest graded defensive line in the country at a 92 PFF grade, one of only 2 teams in the country to be in the top 5 of both run defense grade and pass rush grade. Miami has the 2nd best run defense grade in the country, 5th best pass rush grade. Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher, I would argue right now, has been the best defensive player in college football. He's the only edge in America with 90-plus grades as a pass rusher and as a run defender. We thought he could be a first-round pick in the NFL draft going into the year. Now I'm going to say he could be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft this year, too. He has been absolutely phenomenal for Miami, and their entire defensive line has been phenomenal. Akeem Mesidor has been great, too. Their D-tackle has been really good. Miami's defensive line all around has been great, but they go against a Florida offensive line right now that is by far the best part of Florida's team, and it's been really good. Now, that's a really fun matchup, Dalton. But it only matters if DJ Lagway can take advantage of the clean pockets he gets in this game. DJ Lagway has a 68.5 passing grade when he isn't pressured this year, when he is not pressured. That's 103rd in the country. He has 7 turnover-worthy plays when he's kept clean this year, 3 more than any other quarterback in the Power 4. 6 of those 7 turnover-worthy plays from a clean pocket came this past weekend against LSU. We had 5 interceptions in that ball game. He struggled mightily with his decision-making and with his accuracy on his way to 7 turnover plays and 5 picks in that ball game. DJ Lagway, if he does get clean pockets, which is not guaranteed in this game because of that Miami defensive line, but if he does, he better take advantage of them right now. But really, the matchup to watch is Florida's offensive line, which is an elite unit right now, against, in my opinion, the best defensive line in college football in Miami.
Yeah, and that's the part where last week is so concerning more than at any other point for Lagway. We've known in the past and last year that Lagway was struggling. When he was struggling, it was with footwork and accuracy and things you can tinker with each week of practice, right? This LSU game last week was the first time, and you mentioned it, 7 turnover-worthy plays last week. I believe it was 6 of them were in a clean pocket.
Yeah, 6 of them.
It's the first time that I've seen DJ Lagway have poor decision making, right? For an entire game like that. Here and there, a young kid's going to make a mistake as a true freshman last year, but that's what worried me the most. Is I go, all of a sudden, don't force it now. And that was a close game still, 20-10 with plenty of time, basically the whole second half. That's still a game where you can kind of be workmanlike and work your way back into a football game, and he's making these boneheaded decisions. That's not what you want to see. And now you're certainly, and he was, and last week you get the blitzes and everything like that from Blake Baker. Now you're just getting Ruben Bain and these freaks up front. you can't make bad decisions in this game or it's going to go south really, really quick. Lagway's got to pick it up. But you mentioned it, NFL players all across both lines in these games, man. And on the Florida side, Jake Slaughter, Austin Barber, right, going up, Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor off the edge. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. But Lagway's got to take advantage of it if Florida does win that trench battle.
Definitely. All right, will Florida get their season back on track with an upset win over a top 5 team in Miami, or will Miami deliver Florida their 3rd straight loss in the season?
Look, I'm sure some people know college football for a long time, and there's always mojo, and things swing right when you don't think they're gonna, and college football gets turned upside down every week. And maybe even Trevor Sikkema would pick the Gators to win this game. I'm sure he would. But I just can't do it. That is just, I mean, it's at Miami's at home. They're red hot. Carson Beck looks fantastic. Both trenches look fantastic. They look better in the secondary. We'll see if they're an elite unit as the year goes on. They look better than they did last year in the secondary. There's just everything's going Miami's way right now. I think they have so much confidence. They played so well last week against a USF team that was playing with so much confidence as well, especially on defense. I just think especially the fact that, you know, when I went in this week and saw these pass rush numbers from the Gators, I was like,
surprising.
Oh boy,
yeah.
That's because it's Carson. You leave Carson Beck clean, he's going to find a way to beat you. Miami 31-17.
I have Miami 31-21. I think Miami's playing like the best team in college football right now. Florida is not playing like the best team in college football right now. Even if the Gators keep DJ Lagway clean all night, which I don't think is guaranteed, and I think Miami's defensive line will have success in this game, it's highly unlikely he outduels, in my opinion, the Heisman Trophy favorite right now in Carson Beck, who is elite from a clean pocket. And Lagway, like you said, has committed a lot of bad mistakes this year from a clean pocket, especially this past week against LSU. Even if both quarterbacks are kept clean in this game, I still think Carson Beck has a major advantage over DJ Lagway. I got Miami winning this one as well, 31-21. All right, final game in our Week 4 preview is a big Big 12 game. Arizona State at Baylor, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. 2 Big 12 teams trying to reemerge as contenders in the conference. Right now, neither Arizona State nor Baylor are among the 4 favorites to win the Big 12 right now, according to DraftKings Sportsbook. Both the Sun Devils and the Bears are off to 2-1 starts to their seasons. But both of their losses came against non-conference opponents. Arizona State lost to Mississippi State. Baylor lost to Auburn. So the winner of this game is still very much in the Big 12 race in a wide-open conference and may even crack the top 25 heading into Week 5.
Huge game for both teams. Already having, like you mentioned, an out-of-conference loss, yes, but I think huge even just for the confidence of both teams. And Baylor with a big win over SMU. That was massive because they were very much on the ropes of starting 0-2. Arizona State, I don't think, has played their best football by any means in really any of their 3 games. This is a huge win for either team to get, to be A, 1-0 in the Big 12, and B, these are 2 teams they need shots of confidence.
Yeah.
I think it's been a battle for both of them. I think this is a massive game when it comes to the standings and those 2 teams wanting to stay near the top, because you've got one of Utah or Texas Tech is going to lose this week, right? You've got a lot of other teams that have their strengths and have their flaws. This is massive. I think especially, it sounds funny, but for the mental state of each of them and where things go from here for both.
So you have the Sun Devil offense in this one. What should we know when they have the ball?
Okay. Arizona State has not played their best football, especially offensively. I think Sam Leavitt has been a bit of a wild horse. I think there's times where he is just refusing to play in structure. You've mentioned before about how Jordan Tyson's their only really legitimate, consistent receiving threat. Jordan Tyson has, I believe it's right around 100 more receiving yards than the rest of the team combined. And what you don't want to see is this turn into a situation at Arizona last year, right, when you had Noah Fafita, you had Tedero McMillan, and you had nothing else, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was ruled ineligible, and they couldn't run the football, and they had nothing else going for them, right? You don't want to see that happen. But Arizona State, they did lose Cam Scatterbo, but they can still run the football now, right? You've got Raleek Brown, you've got Kanye Udo, you've got Kyson Brown, you've got Sam Leavitt is a dynamic athlete. I'll be honest with you, when he first transferred there, I didn't think he was this good an athlete. He is a freak when it comes to running the football and scrambling, breaking the pocket, and doing all those things. Arizona State needs to get back to the identity of what they were last year. They need to run the football first and foremost. Even when they were coming back against Mississippi State, how did they do it? They got under center and they ran it down their throat the whole way. And they went out there and took a lead running the football. When you look at the numbers for Arizona State, all right, you ready for this? 14th in rushing grade, 7th in yards per carry, 4th in missed tackles force. Very hard. They got 4 guys who are hard to tackle. Number 1 explosive run rate in the country.
Wow.
Number 1. They're ripping off chunk runs. And you know what the real problem is? The number that actually bothers me the most? Last year, they ran the ball at the 23rd highest rate in the country. It was Scadaboo. It was Levitt, obviously, on zone reads and things like that. And they were running the football. They wanted to be physical. This year, 80th with those numbers and the way they're producing. I know Sam Levitt's going to be an NFL quarterback. I know Jordan Tyson's going to be a first-round pick. Run the football. Run the football. They're asking Levitt to do too much. They are just like Fafita in Arizona last year, Fafita and McMillan. Sam Levitt can do so many great things on the football field. But right now, he's for some reason feeling the need to carry it, and he's doing too much out of structure. He's passing up easy throws. And really, again, the only legitimate threat right now, until maybe they get Jalen Moss back, right, is Jordan Tyson. That's great. It's great to have an all-world receiver. This team is at its best when they still run the football and limit Sam Levitt to making those explosive plays when it's within the offense. All right? That number needs to come up from 80th if they're going to win this game. They have to send – I know it's not Cam Scadaboo, but they have multiple guys now who are going to be fresh throughout the game. They have Sam Levitt, who looks even like a more dangerous runner than he did last year. When he breaks the pocket, guys are chasing him. He's a monster.
Yeah.
He is a monster. He's a bear to tackle, man, on top of those 3 backs. I think this is Arizona State. They need to get back to what they did last year. They need to. And then the explosive plays in the pass game will come with Tyson. And then maybe somebody else emerges. We didn't see Jordan Tyson emerge till the second half of last year, but I don't want to say an identity crisis yet. But that's also a Baylor team that's been really bad in run defense early in the season. We saw that against Auburn in week 1. We even saw it against SMU, and they gave up 45 points. You can run the football on this team. If the Sun Devils are going to win this game, take it out of Sam Levitt's hands.
I agree with that. My match watching the other side of the ball is Sawyer Robertson against Arizona State's zone-heavy defense. Really, the philosophy of Arizona State defensive coordinator Brian Ward is to sit back in zone coverage and hardly ever send a blitz at all. Kind of the polar opposite of what Illinois tries to do on defense. Brian Ward and the Sun Devils last year ran cover 3 at the 5th highest rate in the Power 4, 40.4%. They blitzed at the 6th lowest rate in the Power 4, right below 25% blitz rate last year. This season, Arizona State has sent a blitz at the lowest rate in the Power 4, only a 20% blitz rate for the Sun Devils this year. Sawyer Robertson's box score numbers are impressive. The redshirt senior has the 2nd most passing yards in the country with over 1,000 passing yards. He is tied for 3rd in touchdown passes too, but only 99th in PFF passing grade this year and 94th in passing grade when he isn't blitzed with only a 63.4 passing grade. And against zone coverage over the last 2 years, he has 10 big-time throws and 10 turnover-worthy plays. He'll need to do a much better job of finding the soft spots in zone coverage this week against Arizona State. And he should have the time in the pocket to do so, considering Arizona State hardly ever sends a blitz at quarterbacks too. But he's got to be able to beat zone coverage in this game against Arizona State if Baylor's going to want to win this game.
Yeah, got to stay patient, got to be accurate. I think that's the biggest thing for me with Sawyer Robertson. The delivery can be at times inconsistent. He's got to be more accurate with the football. I think the shot plays, it's possible to take them against this defense. We saw Blake Shapen do it. That's why the Mississippi State won that game, right? It's possible to, ironically, former Baylor quarterback Blake Shapen, of course. Yep. But, I think that's what it is for Robertson to me, is accuracy and just consistently delivering the football where it needs to go. I think there is an opportunity in this game, right? When you talk about Kobe Prentice and Josh Cameron and Michael Trigg and all these weapons Baylor has, they can really spread you out and throw the football. He's got to get it there. When he's hot, he gets raging hot. We saw that the second half against SMU. When he's cold, see a little more what you saw against Baylor, where it's inaccurate, and this defense has to be better. They can't ask Robertson to do so. They have to be better on defense in this game, but he can be good. He just runs hot and cold, and the accuracy wavers at times.
So 2 Big 12 teams trying to get back on track, trying to get into the top 25 going into Week 5, Dalton. Who is going to win this game between Arizona State and Baylor?
This might have been the hardest game of the week for me to pick. This one or maybe Oklahoma-Auburn were like the 2 hardest games to pick, I think. And because these 2 teams, neither of them has played their best football. They have shown that they have flaws, right? Arizona State's passing game has not looked good outside of Jordan Tyson. Baylor's run defense has been a mess, and the Jackie Marshall injury has thrown that off. I think he played a little bit last week, but it doesn't look 100% right now. I eventually, because they're the home team and because I do think Robertson and those weapons, if this becomes a high-scoring game, their depth of weapons, I know Arizona State has the best one in Tyson, but I think Baylor's depth of weapons, you've got 4 or 5 guys that can hurt you in the passing game. I'm going to take them to get it done. High-scoring game, 34-27. I do think for Arizona State, I actually think if they're going to win, time of possession, run the football with all three of those backs and with Sam Levitt, slow this game down, get into maybe not as high a scoring game as you think this might be. And I think for me, the spotlight is on their offensive coordinator, Marcus Arroyo. Even more, everyone's on Sam Levitt right now. He hasn't played great. It's been kind of a roller coaster. Marcus Arroyo needs to adjust this offense and go, hey, Sam, we're trying to win ball games here. All right, this isn't all just about you and hero ball. I know Cam Scadaboo's gone, but this isn't just about you. This is about us. We got to run the football. We got to run our whole offense. We got to run all the high rate of screens that we run. And then when I ask you to do the explosive things you can do, then you get it done because it's set up within the offense. I think Marcus Arroyo is the biggest X factor in this game.
I have Arizona State winning 31-28, so we differ on the outcome of this one. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think the Sun Devils will rely on the rushing game in this one, and we've seen, like you mentioned before, Baylor's run defense be vulnerable so far this year. And I do think Sawyer Robertson against Arizona State's zone-heavy defense will have some issues with it. So I have Arizona State winning in a very, very close game, 31-28, but I think the Sun Devils will get back on track after losing to Mississippi State a couple weeks ago and get back into the top 25 probably after beating Baylor this week, which should be a heck of a game down there. So that wraps up our Week 4 preview show. I want to remind you guys that on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time will be our Week 4 review show, breaking down probably all these games from what should be an awesome Week 4. Any other major results that come out either from Week 4. Grade release show. We're going to release all the PFF grades from those, and of course break down all the biggest stats and how each team won and lost these big Week 4 games. Please, again, go to subscribe.pff.com and use the promo code PFFCFB25 to get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. If you want to become a sponsor for one of the PFF shows here, reach out to sales@pff.com as well. But that wraps up our Week 4 preview show. And again, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time will be our Week 4 review show. So, producers back there, Tyler and Eli, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for our Week 4 grade release show.